Warrior Lord, Chapter 263, Watch Me. A flash of heavenly light struck down, turning the giant and aggressive sound beasts instantly into ashes. It had even cut off a huge block of stone from the Sound Beast Mountain's peak. That was the heavens solemn. Deep inside the sky where the thunders were exploding, the heavenly light flashed up dazzlingly. This heaven solemn strike shocked every single person of the Wings Race's warriors, scared all the sound beasts on the Sound Beast Mountain. Dishan, Uro, Etionimo, and even Shi Yin all had extremely serious countenances. They looked up to the major changes happening in the sky and instantly did not know what else to say. That is the punishment force. Every 10,000 years, whenever the two tribes had warriors entering the true God realm, this heavenly light from the sky would strike and burn the warriors into ashes, that nothing remained. Their souls and spirits both perished. Uro looked up to the sky with resentful eyes. This bloody, heavenly light has confined the two tribes for 10,000 of years. Dishan and Etionimo contemplated. Their faces were somber. Shi Yin knitted his eyebrows, looking at the sky above the Sound Beast Mountain with a distressed feeling. He could feel the severely horrendous power there, which likely destroyed both heaven and earth. He even did not dare to send out his soul consciousness to observe around. He felt that once he released his soul consciousness, it would be struck into ashes before it could reach that deep place in the sky. Inside of that place existed the destructive powers that could vanish the warriors at the true God realm. As only being at the earth realm, if he had riskily gone for a confrontation, death was undoubtedly the only consequence for him. Are you confident? Dishan contemplated for a while. His two eyes squinted, creating a straight line. There seemed to be a spike of electricity that flashed up inside of them. No matter what, you have to break the shelter at the entrance of Sound Beast Mountain. Otherwise, even if we don't attack you when this space is destroyed, you are still unable to escape from this catastrophe. No worries, if I were not sure, I could not have had been calm like this. Shi Yin revealed a faint smile, nodded to Uro. Bring me to the entrance of one cave on the Sound Beast Mountain, then you guys watch me. Are you sure? Sure. The matriarch of the White Wings clan nodded. Her snow-white hands grabbed Shi Yin and instantly flew up to the sky. A white light emerged as Uro's figure appeared right at the foot of Sound Beast Mountain. Thud, thud, thud. Explosive thunder sounds reverberated from the gloomy sky. Each flash of the lightning from the 9 tiers of the sky, which was as big as a dragon flying and twisting, struck straight at Uro. Dishan and Etionimo were already floating in the air. As they saw lightning striking down, their faces dramatically changed. They immediately prepared to deal with it. Bang! Thunder and lightning struck down at the flank of the mountain. Rocks were smashed into pieces. When the lightning struck, some of the sound beasts, who had not prepared yet, instantly got incinerated. Uro reacted rapidly. As soon as that lightning released, she had already teleported to another cave, then quickly let Shi Yin down. Boom, boom, boom. Up there, the thunderclap exploded massively as lightning flashed up, tearing off the sky. More and more lightning appeared as if they had to burn everything on Earth. Uro, those flashes of lightning were aiming for you. You should leave. Etionimo lifted his head, looking up, quietly observing for a while. He suddenly shouted, You have not reached the true God realm, so there is no heavenly light striking down at you yet. However, don't underestimate its power. You should not come close to Shi Yin because even if you could have avoided it, he would not. Warrior lore. Being reminded by Etionimo, Uro finally understood. She did not dare to stay with Shi Yin. Instead, she teleported back outside the mountain. Soon after that, her delicate and heart-touching body appeared beside Dishan and Etionimo. The thunder and thunderbolt seemed to have instincts. While she was leaving, they kept chasing after her, turning into an electric dragon storming towards her. When the 3 people, Dishan, Etionimo, and Uro saw that the electric dragon was terrifyingly dashing forward, they were all ready to confront it. Colorful lights which came from the void were congealed and refined. Conspicuous flows of light emerged from their hands, collided with the twisting electric dragon, and broke it into pieces. It turned out to be tiny streaks of lightning retreating deep into the sky. The shelter over there has been aiming at our two tribes indeed. Deshaun squinted, raised his head looking up to the sky, then said with a low voice, "As long as we approach closer to the Sound Beast Mountain, the shelter outside will be immediately activated and constantly attack us without letting us off. On the contrary, Yin is still unharmed." Uro and Etionimo sent out their consciousness to observe. They realized that Yin had not been attacked by lightning. In the area that he was standing, there weren't any changes. The lightning which had previously been aimed at Uro also disappeared without leaving any trace. As he is human, he seems not to be struck by the lightning. Eonimo nodded and said, "But it seems that those sound beasts are also afraid of the lightning's attack. Our two tribes are not the only target, so are those sound beasts." Don't know why those sound beasts have suddenly become that strain. Deshaun nodded, guessing, there surely occurred a major change inside of the Sound Beast Mountain. Otherwise, the sound beasts should not have had such strange behaviors. Those sound beasts that have been struck to death by the heavenly light had already reached the 7th level, the strongest ones of all the sound beasts. They were unexpectedly attacked by the shelter. It is very anomalous indeed. Don't mess with them. Wait until Yin breaks the shelter. We will then enter the Sound Beast Mountain and see why the sound beasts have behaved that strange. Uro said with a smile. Deshaun and Etionimo slowly nodded. Their eyes were full of hope, looking towards Yin's direction. On the flank of the mountain, Yin held his breath, calmed his consciousness with a serious face. He slowly gathered forces and released his spirit to make contact with the earth flame inside of the blood vein ring. "Right now, I need your powers to break this damn shelter." "Okay, I have finished my evolution. My forces now are much stronger than before. I can definitely break that shelter. If it's not because my soul is still feeble as it has just formed, only do I need to go out of this ring. I can already burn that shelter quickly. Your soul is not stable now, plus there are many warriors of the demonic Sound Clan who have a profound understanding about the souls. As soon as you go out of the blood vein ring, they will attack your soul. They are only afraid of your burning fire powers. But now, your soul has not fused with the burning fire. It's not sure whether you will be able to withstand their soul attack. You should not be reckless. Before your soul and the burning fire could fuse together, don't get out of the blood vein ring." "Got it." After discussing with the earth flame, Yin slowly stretched out his hands towards the cave entrance. Sizzling, small flames flickered from his fingertips as if there was a spiritual snake curling up out on his palms. Because of this, scorching burning fire hovered around his hands with the extreme heat. The host soul inside the sea of consciousness quietly moved. Flows of soul consciousness, one by one, scattered from the sea of consciousness, observing small transformations of burning fire on his hands. The blood vein ring was dazzling with red light as each of the fire snakes crawled out of the ring. As soon as fire snakes had got out, Yin sent his soul consciousness into them. When the fire snakes wrapped around the backs of his hands and his palms, profound chi massively rolled out and assembled with these fire snakes. The solid cave shelter was burned up by the scorching fire from his hands. Mists of gray smoke came up one by one. Dense chi also spread out inaudibly. Many of the sound beasts retracted their heads, staying inside of the cave, and frighteningly watched the heavenly flame flared up from Yin's hands. They didn't dare to come any closer. Time had been passing by. Both of Yin's hands were wiggling with the shelter for a long while. The powerful burning fire of the 10,000-year earth flame in the blood vein ring emitted constantly, converging with his soul consciousness. His profound chi turned to the raging heavenly flame, which could have wiped out everything. It was now wildly incinerating that shelter. The invisible shelter, which was being burned by the powerful burning fire, seemed to be broken little by little. Around the stone cave, other forces appeared to support and enhance the shelter's strength. However, they could not resist the heavenly flame's burning power. The shelter, which Yin's hands were placed on, was getting weaker. The defending forces hidden inside were being consumed bit by bit, about to be completely broken. Kaba, Duolong, and Yimeng also arrived at the Sound Beast Mountain, standing together with the other three people including Dishan, Yuro, and Etianimo. They all stared at Shi Yin attentively without a second of negligence. Wings Race's pagans and Kaba, Yimeng, the youth of the demonic Sound Clan were all gathering at this place. With just a quick glance, the pagans of the Wings Race and the demonic Sound Clan were flooding towards the Sound Beast Mountain from all directions. After realizing that the two pagan tribes were bringing all of their members here, many of the Sound Beasts scattering outside went back into the Sound Beast Mountain in fear. They didn't dare to confront these two tribes. Numerous Sound Beasts hopelessly hid inside of the Sound Beast Mountain after seeing their leaders being struck into ashes by a flow of the heavenly light from the sky. Hiding inside of the cave, the Sound Beasts were extremely nervous. They had wanted to go out but were scared of being ambushed by the people of the Wings Race and the demonic Sound Clan. They were indeed in a dilemma. Any one of these two pagan tribes could have somehow figured out that inside of the Sound Beasts Mountain that there was a major occurrence which could have frightened the Sound Beasts that much. Otherwise, those Sound Beasts would not have been so terrified that they had to hurriedly go out of the caves. Knowing clearly that things were changing abnormally inside of the Sound Beast Mountain, those pagans still hoped that Shi Yin could have broken the shelter soon. After their 6 leaders had explained to them, these pagans understood that the perdition was coming. If they could not have gotten out of this land, they would have completely disappeared from the world's history. Everybody was frightened. Chao Jia, do you think we can go back to the Kiara Sea? Inside the Rattan cage, Gu Linglong's eyes brightened with a hopeful look. I don't know. Let's see what he can do. Chao Jilan miserably smiled, pointing to Shi Yin, and said, If I can return to the Kiara Sea and recover my forces, I will definitely torture him to death. Gu Linglong clenched her teeth with full of resentment. Without our family's support, none of us is strong enough to be his opponent. Chao Jilan slightly whined and groaned. Yang Qing Emperor is such a genius. He has found that rascal from nowhere. That rascal is such a monster. Even if the Yang family perishes, unless that guy is dead, they still can rebel again. After Panja, Chu Yangqin, and Gu Linglong listened to Chao Jilan, the look on their faces all changed into those of fear. Obviously, they all admitted what Chao Jilan had said was true. All of them had to accept Shi Yan's intimidating strength. Chapter 264, Breaking the Shelter. Scorching flames, one by one, flew out from Shi Yan's hands, all rolling in the cave in front of him. After pulling one another about, the shelter at the cave entrance, which had been blazingly burned by heaven flame, finally seemed not to be able to resist any longer, exposing a small burnt hole. Everybody's faces were excited. Shi Yan's eyes also brightened up as if he could see a ray of glory through that small hole. He put all his efforts to continuously pour the heaven flame's blistering power into that hole. After all the flames of the heaven flame entered that hole, they eroded the cave entrance little by little, quickly enlarged the hole. Dishan, Yuro, and other leaders of 2 pagan tribes showed an extreme joy. It was obvious that with that burning speed, the cave would be soon broken. The hole would be broadened enough for everyone to get in. Lightning flashed up in Dishan's eyes. He contemplated for a while before quietly coming closer to Shi Yin. Duolong and his fellows also followed behind without much hesitation. They all gathered 30 meters away from Shi Yin and kept staring at every single move from him. If they didn't enter the Sound Beast Mountain, they would not have been struck by the lightning from the sky above the peak. The miraculous shelter in the sky seemed to have its own consciousness. It had a duty to make sure that no top-class warriors of the 2 tribes were able to have penetrated into the Sound Beast Mountain. As soon as they moved one step in, this shelter would have been instantly activated, striking down tremendous lightning. Let's wait for a while. Once the cave entrance is enlarged enough, we will enter right away. Dishan turned around, glancing at the other 5 leaders, then said with a serious face, Everyone should watch out. There is certainly an anomalous change in there. It may be a fatal danger. You should not be contemptuous. 5 of them nodded, implicating they'd already understood. Those 6 peak leaders of 2 tribes were glaring at every move of Shi Yin with stony eyes from a distance of 30 meters away. They were ready to enter at any time. Sweat beaded on Shi Yin's forehead. The fabric on his back was also wet. This was the result of consuming too much power. His body had been trained by the heaven flame for a long time, as his vessels and blood were adapting more with the heaven flame's heat. However, burning fires spreading out from the blood vein ring this time were much hotter than any previous times. The extreme heat of the earth flame had successfully transformed, being several times stronger than before. Until now, Shi Yin got to know that the earth flame previously had not been considered as the heaven flame. At best, it had been only considered to be mutated earth flame that hadn't reached the heaven flame's temperature just yet. Nevertheless, the current earth flame had a huge transformation after having absorbed the sun-refined spirits. Not only did it have a complete soul and a perfect living form, but its burning fire power had also been enhanced to another new level. The 10,000 years earth flame somehow had transformed to make a balance with the icy cold flame, which owned a miraculous earth-shaking power. As the earth flame had been enhanced, its burning power was also much stronger than before. Shi Yin almost could not stand it. When he poured profound qi into each flame, a lot of his power had been drained, including his soul consciousness. The heaven flame evaporated his sweat quickly as soon as it continued pouring out again. Even though Shi Yin's whole body was not comfortable, he still tried to restrain it, focused his mind, and kept releasing his soul consciousness. He let his profound qi massively roll into his palms to fuse with flames of the heaven flame to create heaven flame's power with a tremendous attack strength. Sizzling. The heaven flame was burning furiously, making the hole in front of him bigger. Gradually, it was getting as big as a human's head. Shi Yin's face was joyful, but he did not dare to relax now. He kept urging the profound qi inside of his body to pour into the conflagrate burning fires on his hands. The burning fires then flew straight into the hole. Torrential heaven flame was blazing on his hands. There was as if a fire snake wrapping around each of his fingers, twisting and sticking its tongue out. Miraculously, inside of those vivid red flames appeared a faint purple color. That was a strange color resulted by the fusion of the heaven flame, his soul consciousness, and the profound qi. Shi Yin stretched out his hands through the hole, sending powerful burning fires of the heaven flame to cover them and then forcefully tore the hole apart. More and more heaven flames burning fires flew up from the backs of his hands and his palms. The 1,000-year earth flame had sensed his urge, emitting stronger burning fires to support Shi Yin tearing the hole. Swoosh! A crispy sound suddenly came up from that hole. Shi Yin's hands had violently pulled and tore that hole, which had been originally as big as a human head size. Now the hole was big enough for an adult to get through. Go! Dishan shouted as his black wings flapped hastily. He flashed up like a black lightning and disappeared instantly. Shi Yin got bewildered for a while. Before he could realize what was happening, Dishan had already gone through the shelter, getting inside of the Sound Beast Mountain. Not far from that, after seeing Dishan's action, Uro and Etianimo also turned into flows of light without hesitation, going inside of the Sound Beast Mountain with a blinding speed. At the foot of the Sound Beast Mountain, people of the Wings race and the demonic Sound Clan began to cheer and applaud. All of them were extremely joyful. They soon congratulated each other. Some of them even started drinking to celebrate. A few of the high-class warriors leaped up and flew towards Shi Yin's direction. At this moment, cheerful sounds and noises echoed crazily. After being dazed, Shi Yin saw the 10 warriors of 2 tribes approaching closely. They were about to jump into the cave entrance. Boom, boom, boom. An earth-shaking thunder sound suddenly came up from deep inside the sky. Horrendous streaks of lightning covered the entire Sound Beast Mountain entirely all in a sudden, just like a heavy shower. Simultaneously, the Sound Beast Mountain was immersed in a dense net of lightning. With a quick glance, that net of lightning looked like a curtain being pulled down. The scream like ghosts wail and wolves howl also followed the lightning piercing into people's ears. Being struck constantly by those streaks of lightning, the bodies of those Wings races and demonic Sound Clan's top-class warriors were immediately incinerated, then fell down not long after having wiggled fiercely in the air. Their bodies exploded before they could have reached the ground. Flesh and blood were scattered everywhere. The 10 warriors of the 2 tribes were dead without leaving any bones in just a short moment. All the pagans, who were standing everywhere around the Sound Beast Mountain, immediately changed their countenances dramatically after seeing the terrifying scene. The cheering noises had also died out. No one could have ever imagined that the 10 Sky Realm warriors could have been struck to death that fast. There was not a single sign, nor a minute spared for preparations. Those 10 warriors were dead, just like that. Those pagans, who had been cheerful, dazedly watched flesh and bones falling down like a heavy blood shower. Everybody ceased suddenly. Some of the other warriors, who had originally wanted to enter the cave, were flying in the air, hurriedly stopped, as they didn't dare to come any closer to the Sound Beast Mountain. Shi Yan's complexion had also changed tragically. Soon after that, he realized that while he got dazed, the hole, which had been torn apart, was slowly shrinking. After raising his eyebrows with a little hesitation, he then suddenly jumped through the shelter, entering inside of the Sound Beast Mountain. Shriek, shriek, shriek. Ear-piercing growls of sound beasts resounded as soon as he got into the Sound Beast Mountain. Echoing growls of sound beasts were not less loud than the ones of thunderbolts outside. While earth-shaking sounds kept coming up, 6 figures of Dishan and other 5 leaders were getting further and further, dashing towards the center of the mountain. Uro was the last one of the line. The matriarch of the White Wings clan held a charming figure, waiting for the other 5 figures to disappear. She looked at Shi Yan from a distance, then gently said, "Let's go in there together." Shi Yan was startled. He hesitated a little before saying, "Don't you need me to keep this shelter open?" Uro revealed a faint smile, gently shaking her head. "If you've been able to break it, you can also do the same from the inside. Wait until we solve the problem inside the mountain, then you will break this shelter again. With the thunder and lightning outside that close the cliff, no one else can go in. You only uselessly waste your powers if you stay here. We don't know how long it would take in there. Until we can solve the problem inside, if your powers have already been drained by that time, it would have really been such a waste." Shi Yan nodded, determinedly stopped holding the shelter open. He zoomed towards Uro. "Shi Yan." Uro suddenly lowered her voice when he arrived next to her. "What happened?" Shi Yan asked with a low voice. A suspicious look showed up on his face. "Be careful." Uro gently spoke up after hesitating. "You should not keep yourself too far away from me to avoid any unexpected events. You also need to be aware of Duolong and the other 3 leaders of the demonic Sound Clan. Perhaps you will be their target there." Shi Yan frowned and said, "Don't they need me to break the shelter?" "It's hard to say." Uro's face got serious. "You've probably realized that when thunder and lightning cover the outside of the mountain, the shelter inside of the Sound Beast Mountain starts to be weakened. If we can enter here, it means the shelter is not effective anymore. After we solve the problems inside of the mountain, the oppressive forces of the shelter may no longer exist. Until then, you don't have any value to them." Shi Yan's face suddenly changed. He nodded firmly after thinking for a while. "I understand. As I have promised, as long as you break the shelter, I will try my best to protect you. I will keep my words." Even though Uro was inside of a dark, dull cave, her eyes, on the contrary, were very bright. "I will try my best, but if it does not happen as I wanted, don't blame me." Shi Yan still felt warm, although he was inside of a chilly, dark cave. He bravely placed his hands on Uro's wings and honestly said, "I will still be grateful to you." Suddenly, the body of the matriarch of the White Wings clan reddened as her charming face also blushed. Her beautiful eyes got mused while her body was slightly shivering. "Oh," Shi Yan asked with surprise, "are you okay?" "Little pervert." Uro angrily stared at him. However, she had no power to resist. She was even more exquisitely dainty and ravishingly beautiful that all men would have surely committed a crime. Clenching her teeth tightly, Uro scolded, "Don't you really know that the wings of the Wings race's girls are even more sensitive than our breasts and preserved area? We are not allowed to let any of the opposite genders touch them." "I didn't know." Shi Yan looked shocked, innocently shaking his head. Chapter 265. The Nine Serenities' Soul-Devouring Flame. In the murky stone cave, looking at Shi Yan's innocent appearance, the matriarch of the White Wings clan felt so angry that she just wanted to smash him down. However, thinking about the unknown problems inside the mountain, she had to restrain her irritations. She stared at him with her fiery eyes, forcefully pulled his hands, and flew into the center of the mountain. With the flame of anger inside, Yuro's movements were not gentle at all. Her small hands were like a pair of metal pincers, secretly squeezing Shi Yan's hands. Oh! Although Yuro continuously put more strength to the squeeze, she realized that Shi Yan did not utter a word as if he did not feel the pain. With her astonishment, she kept tensioning her clamp. Yuro was surprised. The strength that she was using was enough to break the Nirvana Realm warrior's bones. Nevertheless, even though Shi Yan was just ranked second sky of the Earth Realm, he was still all right, only slightly knitted his eyebrows. Do you think it is enough? As Yuro kept squeezing harder and harder, Shi Yan had to reluctantly say, if you keep doing that, I can't help but scream. You have already discharged your anger. Don't continue torturing me. You little rascal, you are no ordinary indeed. Your meridians seem to transform and contract continuously. Each of them is very peculiar, as if some strange energy keeps condensing and refining in it. Yuro still clamped his hands tightly. She did not have any intentions to reduce the strength of her fingers. She continued to speak with a gentle voice and a very strange look. Shi Yan, your body is not the same as ordinary people's. I have a vague feeling that the meridians in your entire body seem to have great differences compared to the regular ones. What did you do after all? She still wanted to explore all secrets inside Shi Yan's body. Last time when she had returned to the ancient city, she had found out that there were peculiar forces in Shi Yan's blood and vessels which repressed his immortal blood. She had some understanding about the antiquity time's secrets, so she couldn't imagine if any forces could dominate the immortal blood in the immortal God King's descendant. She guessed that Shi Yan was still hiding an earth-shaking secret. She somehow realized that there were mysterious forces whose strength were as strong as the one of the immortal blood inside his body. Otherwise, the immortal blood could not be easily dominated like this. Nothing. Shi Yan shook his head. He had to keep anything related to the mystery martial spirit on the down low. He would not disclose anything to anyone. Not to mention it was Yuro. Even if Xia Xinyan asked him, he would still shut his mouth. Shi Yan, maybe you don't know yet, but I have told Dishan about your situation. Yuro suddenly spoke up after contemplating for a while. Dishan is an arrogant person who has a high-level cultivation and brutal means. In the demonic Sound clan and the Wings race, Dishan can be considered the number one of all the top-class warriors. Even I could hardly be his rival. If you can have Dishan's support, once he decides to follow the ancestors' guidance, he will accept you to be his master. Moreover, he will also protect your life, so you don't need to worry about your safety. After leaving this abandoned land, you will have tremendously powerful backup forces. With the unity of Dishan and me, as well as your Heaven Flame, which is the nemesis of the demonic Sound clan, perhaps you will be able to subdue the demonic Sound clan. Don't you understand what this means? What? Shi Yan looked shocked. His eyes brightened up. Apparently, he had been touched. However, Dishan is extremely arrogant. Even though you are the immortal God King's descendant, you are just an Earthrealm warrior. Obviously, it's not easy to make him obey you. Yuro continued, therefore, if you want to get Dishan's agreement, you have to show more of your capabilities. You shouldn't keep hiding them. Otherwise, unless Dishan sees your real competencies, he will not respect you nor treat you like a future top-class warrior. Yuro gently explained to him the situation. Shi Yan listened attentively. After Yuro had finished talking, he nodded slowly and said, I understood. As Shi Yan looked like he had grasped the seriousness of the situation, Yuro said no more and slightly smiled. She suddenly accelerated, turned into a white halo, and dashed towards the center of the mountain. Roam, roam, shriek, shriek. Deep inside the mountain, the sound beast's growls resounded constantly. The earth was violently shaken by those ear-splitting sounds together with the thunders outside the mountain. Yuro, with Shi Yan being grabbed along, flew straight inside of the mountain. The initially gloomy cave turned to be as black as ink as it was impossible to see the surroundings. However, as Uro knew every single path inside the mountain, she could still follow the directions of Dishan and Etionimo. She was rapidly chasing after them. It was uncertain of how much time had passed. Yin suddenly heard, besides the sound beast's growls, a big explosion that was caused by some attacking forces. At the same time, Uro's figure slowed down. A faint silver light was approaching them, lighting up the dark cave. Dishan, Uro shouted in shock. She let go of Yin and stormed forwards. Boom, boom, boom. Incredibly horrendous powers collided and consecutively exploded in the cave. Huge blocks of lava rock instantly turned into ashes, dispersing everywhere in the cave after being hit by those forces. Yin stood on a solid lava rock. He wanted to have a clear view of the scene in front of him, but thick gray dust blocked his vision. A lot of dust had flown into his eyes, causing the irritating itchiness. Right after he had released his soul consciousness, it detected that a kind of soul's magnetic field was revolving inside of the cave. That soul's magnetic field instantly crushed down his soul consciousness. The consciousness attached with the soul consciousness also left no trace behind. He immediately got himself together in fear. He did not dare to send out his soul consciousness again. Instead, he just circulated the profound chi to his eyes, covering his pupils with a layer of the profound chi shield. Even when he could not see what was happening inside the cave nor released his soul consciousness, it didn't mean that he could not sense anything. Furious forces were striking and destroying many blocks of rock of the Sound Beast Mountain. Rock fragments scattered, and dust was everywhere. Through the surging tremor, he was certain that top-class warriors were fighting somewhere in the cave. Uro had terrifyingly shouted when she had seen Dishan's enemy. Therefore, she urgently let go of Yin and dashed towards Dishan. Even though Dishan was the best of the top-class warrior of the demonic Sound clan and the Wings race, with the given brutal situation, his opponent was either the Sound Beast's supreme leader or the most bloodthirsty monster of the world. Regardless of who it was, Dishan's enemy was not the one whom he had the ability to defeat. Therefore, Yin stood right at his place motionlessly, calming himself and waiting. A faint red light appeared in the dark cave. It flickered then scattered around. Dust and ashes blocking his vision were blown away by invisible forces. So were the dust and ashes around Yin. Oh! Yin was astonished, surprisingly looked at the blood vein ring on his finger. He saw the red light flying out from the blood vein ring. Wherever the red light swept over, Yin's vision was not blocked anymore. Everything around him became clearer. This was a huge cave. The red light kept diffusing further, clearing all the dust and ashes. Yin was watching the cave expanding endlessly. A brown jade was hanging at 30 meters above his head. Its surface was full of holes which were as big as fingertips. Dense sky and earthine aura hovered around it. This place was certainly the core of the Sound Beast Mountain. His eyes followed the red light which was expanding further, until the red light could cover an area that is large as 5 football fields combined. He suddenly saw many pairs of eyes flashing up different colored lights. While the red light continued diffusing, figures of those who possessed those eccentric eyes gradually appeared. Sound beasts were everywhere, hundreds or thousands of them. From a distance, each of them was staring at him with full of hatred. Yin obviously was not frightened. He only revealed a faint smile. A red halo of burning fires suddenly emerged from his palms, and the heaven flames power emitted from his body. The sound beasts were apparently scared, moving backward little by little. Where is this place? The icy aura of the ice-cold flame flew out from the blood vein ring all in a sudden. The ice-cold flame sent out its message. The sky and earthine aura here is very dense. Inside of it contains the icy-ine aura that could destroy souls. This is, has the blood vein ring removed the restraint on you already? Yin promptly replied in joy. The blood vein ring has realized that the danger is coming. Moreover, because the current living form of the earth flame has completely formed already, it no longer controls me. The ice-cold flame quickly answered him. Then, It suddenly urged Yin, leave this place. It's extremely dangerous here. The aura here could destroy the souls of any beings. It is, what? It is the 9 Serenities soul-devouring flame, one of the heaven flames, the most parlous one. Its burning fires cannot inflame real entities, but it can destroy all souls of any creatures. Any subject that has a life can hardly resist its devouring fire. As soon as the devouring fire touches your body, it will immediately burn your soul to ashes. Have you said that it's there? It is right there. I can feel it. You'd better leave right away. Boom, boom, boom. Aggressively fighting sounds, along with Yuro's screams, came up from the earth-shaking growls and howls. Yan's face changed dramatically. He immediately looked towards that direction. The blood vein ring's red light spread out, blowing away dust and ashes around Yan. His vision became gradually clearer. With a careful look, he realized that some figures were fighting with several sound beasts where the explosion had occurred. This flock of sound beasts was extremely aggressive with no fear of death. Their giant bodies were covered with scales, which looked terrifying and ferocious. Those beasts were emitting heavy aura. Their eyes' color was all silver. Those eyes were attached to the body that was greatly vigorous, as if they were made of cast iron. These sound beasts were not the same as the ordinary ones. Although they were very mighty, there was no streak of vitality in them, as if their souls had been completely withdrawn. Their entire bodies were full of deadly aura. These sound beasts were giving the pagan leaders, Dishan, Yuro, Duolong, a very hard time in fighting with them. That is the 9 Serenities spirit beasts. The 9 Serenities soul-devouring flame have used the 9 Serenities Chi to condense and refine those sound beasts. As they don't have souls, they won't feel painful or being wary of death. Their powers are even stronger when they are dead. It is very hard to deal with these zombie spirit breasts. Except turning them into ashes, otherwise, even with only a bone remaining, the 9 Serenities soul-devouring flame could still control them to attack other people. The ice-cold flame explained. A beam of fear flashed across Yan's eyes. Chapter 266, Peculiar Treasure appeared. The 7 dead spirit beasts looked as if they were made of cast iron with furious powers and full of benevolent energy. None of them had the aura of a living thing. However, they had lightning speed and tremendous strength. When they leaped up, they pulled the heaven and earth along with them, which led to the increase of their energies and the horrendous destructive powers. The 7 dead spirit beasts seemed to protect something. A dark and sinister area was behind them, from which extremely dense fluctuating aura spread out, floating in the air. It was like many flows of the soul oppressive forces were dispersing, subduing the others' minds and bodies, bringing them violently feelings of insecurities. Among the 6 leaders of the 2 pagan tribes, Etianimo, Kaba, and Yiming all had the spirit realm soul cultivations. Although their bodies were feeble, their soul powers were enough to fearlessly deal with most of the creatures there. However, when confronting those soulless dead spirit beasts, the 3 leaders of the demonic sound clan with tremendous soul power became inefficient, just like something that was used to decorate their powers. The only thing they could do now was to intertwine those 7 spirit beasts with their feeble bodies. The consequences could not have been easily imagined. Losing the biggest advantage, together with their weak bodies, the 3 leaders of the demonic sound clan were having a tough time fighting with those beasts. Once those beasts attacked them, they couldn't do anything but dodge and didn't dare to directly confront them. As the result, the pressure of fighting against the 7 dead spirit beasts obviously fell on the other 3 leaders of the Wings race. Although the 3 of them, Dishan, Yuro, and Duolong, were much better than the other 3, they still could not have gained the initiative in the combat. The dead spirit beasts originally had no souls but had a sturdy build. Moreover, these 7 beasts had used the bodies of the 7th level sound beasts that have cultivated for thousands of years. Thanks to this fact, their mighty bodies' advantages were amplified several times. They were not scared of any weapons or different kinds of energy attacks. Among the 3 leaders of the Wings race, Duolong was at the 3rd level of the Sky Realm, half a step away from the Spirit Realm. With his sturdy build and furious strength, he was definitely a first-class warrior outside of the mountain. The other two, Dishan and Uro, were stronger than Duolong. They were both at the reputable first sky of the Spirit Realm warriors. However, they were still struggling with those beasts strenuously despite their unity. Their attacking forces unlikely crushed those spirit beasts into pieces. If those beasts were not smashed into ashes, they would not have gotten injured. With the support of the heaven and earth Een from behind, they would have continued receiving energy from endless sources. As long as the heaven and earth Een was everlasting, and the spirit beasts' bodies were not completely destroyed, their energy would never have been depleted, and their attacks would have kept going on. The 7 spirit beasts' movements were as fast as the lightning. Their speed was even faster than that of the Wings race's leaders. Their energies were extremely ferocious. Shi Yin used his sense to carefully observe the situation. He realized that the 7 dead spirit beasts could have gone through the mountain effortlessly. Their movements were lightning-like. Every time that they moved forward, their giant bodies had unexpectedly traveled dozens of meters deep through the lava rock mountain wall. It was like a huge drill, which could easily pierce through the hard and solid mountain wall. At this moment, he understood that because the dead spirit beasts' attacking strength were so tremendous that they were able to break through everything, like perforating the mountain wall. The 7 dead spirit beasts violently surrounded and pursued to kill the 6 leaders in the cave. Under the attack of the beasts, it was as if they were encountering their archenemies. Their faces were extremely somber while trying to use all kinds of forces to kill the beasts. Dishan's and Uro's strikes on the beasts were as if they had collided with a 300,000-kilogram mountain wall. Those beasts were shot out more than 100 meters away. Their bodies were devastated into pieces, yet unable to have been completely destroyed. As their soul attack was not efficient, the 3 leaders of the demonic Sound Clan were in a strenuous situation. Their feeble bodies were not able to resist the dead spirit beasts' attacks. If they were not very flexible and agile in dodging, they should have been out of breath and dead in no time. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Suddenly, the dense heaven and earth Een emitted from the 7 dead spirit beasts. The space was immediately filled with peculiar dead spirit aura. Some of the sound beasts, which were hiding from a distance, all scattered away as soon as they saw the dispersing heaven and earth Een. More than 10 of the sound beasts that weren't able to avoid it were completely enveloped by this peculiar Een. With their miserable growls, their fluctuating souls became very strange. Their living aura was disappearing, which was being replaced with the intensified dead spirit aura little by little. Not long after that, more than 10 of the sound beasts, under the cover of the peculiar Een aura, started to get crazy. They seemed to have transformed into the dead spirit beasts and began to attack the 6 leaders. These dead spirit beasts, which had just been transformed from the sound beasts, could not have obviously been compared to the other 7 ones. Their bodies were not as sturdy and their strength was far less than the others. That was why when these new-formed beasts were attacked by the 6 leaders, they were soon completely smashed until their blood scattered everywhere. But very soon after that, those 7 dead spirit beasts leaped up quickly. More and more of the heaven and earth Een emitted surrounding them. Hundreds of the sound beasts ran away outwards from the cave in fear. However, they quickly got covered by the heaven and earth Een before being able to have gotten away. All the sound beasts inside of the mountain had been turned into dead spirit beasts after a short while. They started to aggressively attack the 6 leaders without fear of death. The burning fires of the heaven flame emitted abruptly from Shi Yan's body. His face was grievous. He had figured out that the sound beasts had to run away out of the mountain because they were scared of the dead spirit beasts inside of the mountain. To be more exact, the 9 Serenities soul-devouring flame that those dead spirit beasts were protecting. It was because the 9 Serenities soul-devouring flame could destroy their souls and turn them into the soulless dead spirit beasts. These sound beasts obviously knew the power of that 9 Serenities soul-devouring flame. After the shelter inside of the mountain had been weakened, they felt insecure, realized that the 9 Serenities soul-devouring flame was getting developed. Therefore, they ran out of the mountain to avoid being turned into the dead spirit beasts by the 9 Serenities soul-devouring flame. If the demonic sound clans and the wings race people hadn't invaded it, the sound beasts certainly would not have stayed inside of the mountain. Currently, inside of the mountain, hundreds of the sound beasts who were close to the 9 Serenities' soul-devouring flame could not have avoided its attack. Their souls were destroyed as they were turned into the dead spirit beasts. In such a short time, the spirit beasts were packed inside of the cave. After the sound beasts' souls had been destroyed, they were no longer being fearful. They were not even scared of the heaven flame's power on Yan's body, storming towards him. "Let's go." The ice-cold flame sent out its message. "Let me help you." The Thousand Earth flame also communicated with him from the blood vein ring. Boom. Scorching burning fires from Yin expanded everywhere. The Thousand Earth flame flew out from the blood vein ring all of a sudden, emitting its inflammable power when it saw more than 10 of the spirit beasts were approaching. The temperature of the mountain plummeted several times instantly with burning fires everywhere. Every time the dead spirit beasts advanced, they were completely swallowed by the Thousand Earth flame in no time. Once these beasts fell into the sea of fire, they had no more strength to resist and turned to the scattered shower of blood. All of them were dead. The burning fires of the heaven flame continued spreading out. The heaven flame devoured more and more dead spirit beasts. Once being burned by the Thousand Earth flame, none of the dead spirit beasts could withstand it. Everywhere that the heaven flame had passed by the spirit beasts, they were incinerated into ashes that nothing remained. Even the 7 dead spirit beasts which had been tempered by the 9 Serenities' soul-devouring flame could not have prevented the horrendous burning fires of the Thousand Earth flame. 3 of them had been wrapped up in the flames. They were wriggling and being dissolved little by little into dark red masses. Then the heating power would evaporate them into a mist of smoke. As the other 4 dead spirit beasts seemed to sense the danger, even before the burning fires of the Thousand Earth flame came close, they all hid together deep inside of the dark without lingering. "Stop!" From deep inside of Yan's soul, a strong vibration came up. Yin was very frightened. His head was in extreme pain. At the same time, he saw 2 strange flows of souls approaching towards the Thousand Earth flame. The Earth flame soul immediately returned to the blood vein ring as soon as it realized that danger was coming. The burning fires also withdrew into the blood vein ring after the Thousand Earth flame soul went back into it. Those 2 flows of souls belonged to Kaba and Yiming. After hovering around the blood vein ring and realizing it was not easy to have penetrated it, the 2 flows were retrieved. Yin harumphed, coldly looked at Etianimo, who was standing 100 meters away from him. The heaven flame's power is indeed terrifying. Even though it can be used to deal with those peculiar dead spirit creatures here, the 3 of us cannot endure it either. If you let it expand, the 3 of us will be burned into ashes. Etianimo said. Yan's eyes remained frigid. "Little rascal, don't you want to kill us all? If your heaven flame doesn't have the ability to dominate these strange creatures, I would have savaged your soul already." Yiming wiped his sweat off. He was the one who was standing closest to Yin. When the heaven flame diffused towards his direction, he got really frightened. His powers had been drained more than half, even though the heaven flame hadn't come close to him yet. That was why he got angry with Yin the most. Hiss, 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 hiss. For dead spirit beasts, which had just hidden in the dark, released bizarre whistles. A flying shuttle flashed up a sparkling light which was on and off inside of the darkness. It seemingly wanted to get out, but was detained by some unknown forces. It kept struggling as it was not able to escape. A flow of anomalous soul came out from the dark where the 4 dead spirit beasts were hiding. It's the 9 Serenities' soul-devouring flame. That thing seems to be sealed. Right now, its forces are increasing. The seal power will get weakened soon. Leave now. Once it wakes up, no one can resist him. The ice-cold flame hurriedly communicated with Yin. Yin was still motionless as if he did not hear what the ice-cold flame had said. He kept looking forward with a contemplating face. His eyes lit up, wide open, as he was looking at the flying shuttle, which was hovering around in the dark. He seemed to consider something. 5 seconds later, Yin was crazily cheerful. His entire body was shaking. He couldn't help but shout, "Sky-breaking Shuttle! Hope you are still enjoying the thrilling novel. See you guys again on Wednesday. I need rest." Chapter 267, I Can Help You. Sky-breaking Shuttle was an extraordinary treasure in the legends. It could tear off the sky or break any kind of shelters. It kept flying around in the darkness and emitted sharp lights consecutively. Each stream of the lights seemed to be able to destroy everything. They were dispelling the darkness, shattering the wall of the cave into pieces. Eventually, it hollowed out the Sound Beast Mountain, creating a huge, bottomless hole. As the darkness had been dispersed, the scene inside there was gradually revealed. The first thing that struck Yan's eyes was the 3 sparkling small silver strings which were wrapping around the end of the shuttle, pulling it so that it could not fly away. The other end of the 3 silver strings hid inside the darkness, so they could not be seen as of now. Being wrapped around by the 3 silver strings, the sky-breaking shuttle, as it had lost its owner, no longer promoted its true attributes. Instead, it could only fly disorderly in the air. It wasn't able to escape from the 3 silver strings. Those 6 leaders were standing 100 meters away from the sky-breaking shuttle. They all had a somber countenance. All were motionlessly concentrating at that area. Yuro had heard his shout from the distance. She turned around and asked, "Yin, do you know it?" Yin nodded and replied honestly, "That is the sky-breaking shuttle. I had entered the chasm battlefield because of it. It is said that this thing can tear off every partition of space and break all kinds of shelters. Because its owner has been lost, otherwise, it would not have been restrained by anything." The 6 leaders' faces brightened up in joy. The ancestors' guidance was not fake indeed. At the time the Sound Beast Mountain vanishes, we can find a way to go back. Duo Long laughed out loud while pointing to the shuttle, which was wriggling non-stop. That thing was obviously prepared for us. As long as we can get it, we will be able to get out of this damn place for real. There is Heaven Flame over there, but it is the most brutal and anomalous of the Heaven Flames. Yin warned them after musing for a while. What? Etion Mo's expression changed dramatically. He could not help but move backward a few steps. It looked obvious that he was extremely scared of something that was hiding inside the darkness over there. You've just said that another kind of Heaven Flame exists inside there? How could you know? Deshan asked. The other people were also suspicious, looking at Yin, waiting for his explanation. Heaven Flames could sense each other. Thus, they know of each other's existence. Yin walked forward slowly. He was cautious when he looked at Etion Mo, Deshan, and Yuro. He explained, the Heaven Flame there should be the 9 Serenities soul devouring flame. In legends, it has existed since the beginning of the heaven and earth. It cannot burn substances, but it can burn any creature's souls. The 9 Serenities soul devouring flame. The 3 leaders of the demonic Sound Clan screamed out simultaneously with a traumatic change on their faces. They all moved backward to Yan's direction. Not good. Deshan's eyes sparked out a solemn light. A crystal suddenly flew out from his hand. As soon as it came out, it exploded and resulted in a faint blue color which then dispersed quickly, covering him and Yuro inside of it. As Duo Long saw Deshan taking out the blue crystal, he was a little astonished. He seemed to remember something and walked over to Deshan's place. Without waiting for Duo Long to come closer, Deshan harumphed and looked towards him with unpleased eyes. Duo Long felt ashamed, changed his direction embarrassingly, and did not continue approaching that blue aureole. Blue star crystal. The ice-cold flame sense was suddenly sent out. It is one of the extraordinary treasures which is able to resist the 9 Serenities soul devouring flame. The blue star crystal is said to be the most mysterious crystal of the blue planet in the galaxy. It projects blue star heaven light, which could prevent the penetration of all kinds of soul's forces. Even if it is the 9 Serenities soul devouring flame, it cannot immediately break the blue star heaven light. If you can get inside of its protection, you are certainly able to sustain the 9 Serenities soul devouring flame for a while. I've actually prepared this crystal to deal with your demonic Sound Clan. I didn't expect that I have to use it now. Dishan caressed the precious crystal, pouring more of his powerful forces into it to stimulate the miraculous halo inside it. He said with a regretful tone, "The blue star crystal is the consuming object. Its power is limited. The longer it is used, the more power it consumes. I am not sure how long this blue star crystal can last. We can use this blue star light to enter that place over there. Even the 9 Serenities soul-devouring flame cannot instantly destroy our souls. As long as we can prevent it long enough to get the shuttle out, we will go back immediately. What do you think?" Uro suggested. Dishan nodded after contemplating for a while. He said nothing more, stepped towards the shuttle, which was flying deep inside the darkness. Duolong and the other 3 leaders of the demonic sound clan all showed their surprise. They wanted to advance with Dishan and Uro, but they were still scared. Thus, they had to stay at their location with confused faces. "You can go as well. If you hide inside the blue star light's protection, the 9 Serenities soul-devouring flame cannot harm you. Who knows, perhaps you would be able to tame it." The ice-cold flame communicated with Yin. "What?" Yin's face changed slightly. "Is it possible to tame the 9 Serenities soul-devouring flame? How could it be?" "I don't know, but your devilish ring does." The ice-cold flame continued. "Heaven flame, earth flame, and I are all confined inside of this ring. If it's not because the ring's spirit has loosened, none of my forces can be released. If this ring can confine both of us, it must be strong enough to deal with the 9 Serenities soul-devouring flame. As long as your soul is not instantly destroyed, you actually have a chance." "Sounds right." Yin felt excited. He suddenly walked faster towards Dishan and Uro. Dishan, who was leading, stopped abruptly. He turned his head looking at Yin and shouted with a cold face, "What did you come here for?" "I can help you." "What?" "The 9 Serenities soul-devouring flame is extremely dangerous. Even though you have the blue star crystal, you are still scared of its soul-devouring ability." I think I have a way to deal with it. If you let me in, if the 9 Serenities soul-devouring flame appears and behaves perversely, I can probably detain it." "Do you have the ability to detain it?" "I can't guarantee 100%, but I am still very certain about it. We need to try to see if it's possible or not." Yin was extremely honest when explaining, "Currently, I have 2 kinds of heaven flames at hand. Because I can keep these 2 flames with me, I surely have the experience to deal with that kind of flame there. You should trust me." "What?" The 6 pagan leaders all screamed out at the same time. They looked at Yin as if he was a monster. Uro covered her mouth. Her beautiful eyes were extremely frightened. She said with suspicion, "Did you just say that you have 2 kinds of heaven flame? Aren't you kidding?" Dishan's breath was heavy. His eyes rolled up like a buffalo's eyes. Yin nodded and replied calmly, "That's right. Besides the earth flame, the other one is the ice-cold flame. Watch it." In a moment, the icy chi of the ice-cold flame spread out over Yin's body. His body was quickly frozen, turning into a big, transparent ice chunk, which was sparking out glorious and splendid lights. 6 pagan leaders goggled their eyes with their mouth wide opened. Dishan reacted after a long while. He waved at Yin and said, You can come here." While saying, Dishan urged more forces to pour into the blue star crystal. More misty blue lights projected from inside of the blue star crystal. These blue lights seemed to be gradually controlled, condensed into a chunk of lights, forming a human body shape. "Thank you." Yin was very determined. He retrieved the icy power of his body and quickly returned to normal. He got inside of the chunk of blue lights instantly and leaned closely against Uro. As standing inside the blue lights, Yin felt as if he was soaking in an ocean. It felt really comfortable. "Let's go." Dishan waited for Yin to get in before advancing forwards. He did not want to waste any more powers of the blue star crystal. The other 4 people, Duolong, Etianimo, Yiming, and Kaba, could only stare at the other 3 getting into the mysterious darkness. Their eyes beamed out a greedy light. They were also interested in the thing called sky-breaking shuttle. However, as they knew how dangerous the 9 Serenities soul-devouring flame was, they could only watch it from a distance. until the three people of Dishan disappeared into the darkness. The four of them gathered and discussed with each other quietly. The three of them, Dishan, Uro, Yin, kept walking further in the dark. The distance between them and the shuttle got shortened. Some lights ahead became visible. When three of them could see the shuttle clearly, a dazzling halo suddenly emitted in the dark. It was unknown where this halo had come from. A huge block of stone appeared in front of their eyes. The stone platform had an octagonal shape, looked like it was made from some kind of strange, inky black lava. The block was as huge as half of a basketball field. A sparkling white chunk of the crystal was as big as a wash basin lay in the center of the stone platform. Inside of this crystal chunk, there was a stirring silver burning flame. Miraculous heaven light struck down to the acute angle of the octagon-shaped platform, which connected to the sky above the Sound Beast Mountain. The heaven light covered the stone and created forces that sealed the crystal chunk as well as the silver flame inside of it. Dense heaven and earthine aura from everywhere inside of the Sound Beast Mountain was like they just found a way out. They urgently stormed towards the stone platform, joining the burning fires inside of the crystal chunk, making the silver burning flame become livelier. More and more of the forces were gathering. The four dead spirit beasts that had escaped the sea of fire created by the thousand earth flame were hiding behind that huge stone platform quietly. Their murderous eyes stared at the invaders who daringly intruded here. The shuttle, which was as long as an arm, was circling around the huge stone, as the three radiant silver strings wrapping it connected to the crystal chunk. Despite how much the shuttle was struggling, the three silver strings still got it tied tightly that it couldn't be able to get out of the huge stone. That's good. Your souls would help us get out of this place. An ambiguous, peculiar spirit suddenly came out from inside of the stone. The silver burning flames inside of the crystal chunk condensed into a blurry human face. After receiving more heaven and earthine, that face was exposed clearer little by little. Chapter 268, The Great Destruction. Many flows of silver lights blindingly flashed out from the white crystal chunk in the center of the stone. Those silver lights pierced through the seal forces outside of the stone and darted towards Yin, Dishan, and Uro like a shower of arrows. Dishan and Uro were extremely terrified. Without thinking too much, the two leaders of the wings race instantly stretched out their black and white wings. Black and white waves rippled out from their wings one by one, fused with the faint blue lights of the blue star crystal. After all the silver lights hit the cover of blue light, numerous dazzling, colorful beams of light instantly radiated all of a sudden. The colorful lights scattered everywhere. Wherever they had zoomed over, the sound beasts ceased frighteningly and the cave's wall exploded. An earth-shaking explosion resounded inside of the cave. The 10,000-meter-tall mountain couldn't help but violently shake. Abnormal vibrations appeared on the ground. The massive mountain was shaking as if it was about to collapse. The demonic Sound clans and the Wings Race's people who were standing outside of the Sound Beast Mountain showed their horrified faces while looking at the mighty mountain. Beneath the sky where the mountain dominated the skyline, a violent explosive sound reverberated together with countless of giant rocks scattering and flashing lights. Boom, boom, boom. The ear-piercing crash kept coming up. The enormous mountain seemed as if it was about to gradually collapse. The mountain flanks were shaking as 100-meter-long blocks of rock were rolling down to the mountain foot. People of the two tribes were scared out of their wits. Some of the people who were slow got hit by the giant rocks. They were crushed into a mashing pulp of flesh on the spot. Inside of the mountain, Duolong, Etianimo, Kaba, and Yimeng were wearing solemn faces. They wanted to move forward to thoroughly understand. But, at the same time, they were scared of the destructive power of the 9 Serenities' soul-devouring flame. They did not dare to act recklessly, except passively waiting there. However, as time had passed, the upheaval of the Sound Beast Mountain didn't stop. It even became more brutal. In the sky, the dense, interlocking thunder net was slowly contracting. The mountain collapsed and numerous giant rocks were rolling down. Strange streams of lights in the gray clouds flashed up and disappeared. The whole world encountered a great change while the Sound Beast Mountain was crashing. It was as if the sky was falling down. Clouds of dense ashes fully covered the earth and sky. The entire abandoned, gloomy dark land was like it was being completely swallowed by the bright lights. From a very far distance, many seismic upheavals consecutively happened. The ground turned to be an irritating ocean that was roaring and surging violently non-stop. People of the two tribes at the foot of the Sound Beast Mountain felt that the apocalypse was coming. Warriors with high cultivation were floating in the air, looking far ahead as they could see layers of gray clouds adjoining the ground already. With the severe tremor, at the place where the ground had been wrecked, appeared a bottomless abyss, in which the destructive aura emitted constantly. Space crumbled. As some of the high-class warriors with a little knowledge promptly knew what was about to happen, their faces exposed a disappointing look while looking up to the Sound Beast Mountain, which was sealed with thunders now. Blue star crystal. Inside of the mountain, the face in the crystal chunk appeared with fine eyebrows and sharp eyes. Its pupils beamed out a devilish silver light. That face opened its mouth and uttered a frigid human voice. Even the blue star crystal cannot resist for long. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. More and more of the silver lights radiated from the white crystal chunk, striking on the blue aureole that was projected by the blue star crystal. The blue halo was twisting as its power was draining faster as they were being hit by the silver lights. Although the blue star crystal in Dishan's hand was still emitting dazzling aureole, its power was being quickly consumed. The blue star crystal had shrunk 1/5 in such a short of time and continued shrinking rapidly. Dishan's eyes expressed coldness and cruelty. While he kept looking ahead, a smirk appeared on his face. He suddenly said, "Yin, you said you could help me. Now it's time." Yin got stunned with embarrassment. What? Dishan's face got more furious. He stared at Yin and shouted, "So did you just want to fool me?" Yuro looked very worried. While urging more power from her wings to pour into the blue halo, she looked towards Yin anxiously. Time is very tight now. If you really can oppress that 9 Serenities soul-devouring flame, bring it on. As you see, even though it is still under the control of the SEAL forces, it is already that dangerous. If it can totally be free, no one can stop it. Don't waste any more time, do it now. It's too far. I am not sure if it works or not. Yin miserably smiled. I thought I could have touched it, but with this far distance, I have no way. Don't waste time, Dishan shouted with an annoyed face. The blue star crystal's power is getting drained every single second. Once it dries out, Yuro's and my souls cannot prevent its soul-devouring flame. We cannot do anything except in running. If it's impossible to deal with it right now, we will die here together. I know. Yin nodded. His face seemed to be more serious. Little rascal. You've not even reached the sky realm and you still dare to confront me? Such a dream. The 9 Serenities soul-devouring flame inside the white crystal chunk burst into wicked laughter. Not even mentioning you. Even the spirit realm 3rd Sky Warriors are still unable to prevent my soul-destructive burning fires. In this space, there is no true God realm warrior. No one can resist my soul-destructive power. Don't waste your energy. Do you have any other solutions? Yin did not bother with the mocking words of the 9 Serenities soul-devouring flame. He took a deep breath to calm himself down and communicated with the blood vein ring. My living form has just formed, so I am still far less than that dangerous thing. Its soul is extremely powerful. Its forces are also very terrifying. My burning fires can only prevent the heaven and earth-en aura surrounding it, but can't destroy its life seal. The 1000 earth flames sent out its first reluctant message. The 9 Serenities soul-devouring flame is one of the heaven flames, whose rank is much higher than mine. Among the 9 heaven flames, it is ranked the 3rd while I am ranked at 8. Its living form and life have been evolved more perfectly than mine. In addition, my forces have been recently drained too much. Even if I were not sealed by this ring, I could only protect myself when confronting it. I am not its match for sure. Now it's even worse. The ice-cold flame sent out a dilemmatic message after a little hesitation. Among the 9 heaven flames, it is the most difficult to cope with. I've never heard of anyone that could ever have conquered it. Its forces keep increasing. It does not seem like it has been tempered by anyone. I am not a match for it. The answers of the thousand earth flame and the ice-cold flame stiffened Si Yan's face. Now, he knew the 9 Serenities' soul-devouring flame was even stronger than the ice-cold flame. He was afraid that he could not rely on the thousand earth flame and the ice-cold flame this time. He could only count on himself. Try to use the ring to deal with it. Except for that, I don't know what else you can do to be able to handle it. The ice-cold flame sent out another message. But it is too far now while you cannot totally control this ring. If you throw the ring out recklessly, I don't know what will happen. That's the only way. Shi Yan's pupils shrunk while he reminded them, you two should be careful. I don't know how dangerous it is after all. I hope this solution wouldn't harm you too. After talking, Shi Yan took the blood vein ring from his finger. After hesitating for a while, he threw it over to the crystal chunk onto the stone platform. Live or die. Wait and see. Shi Yan sent his spiritual sense to the blood vein ring in silence. The red light abruptly emitted from the blood vein ring. As soon as the blood vein ring had gotten away from Shi Yan, it turned into a beam of sparkling lights, striking straight into the stone platform. Boom! As the blood vein ring struck on the shield around the platform, it got prevented by the heaven light and could not get through the shield to come to the stone platform. Shi Yan's face changed dramatically. Cling cling. The blood vein ring fell down on the ground. Violent blood color lights released outwards. The delicate pattern on the blood vein ring's surface started to move. A flow of solemn ancient aura slowly rose up. That your solution? Di Shan's face turned into seriousness and furiousness. He looked at Shi Yan, shaking his head disappointedly. We should leave. Yuro's beautiful eyes darkened. She bowed her head and let out a sigh, then said disappointedly, God really wants us to perish. Leave here? Di Shan revealed a mocking smirk. To where? The space outside has started to break into pieces. In one day at most, this abandoned land will no longer exist. After leaving here, we will be crushed into ashes by those forces that are tearing the sky apart right now. Without the true God realm capacity, our bodies could not withstand those forces. We will definitely die no matter what. Even in this abandoned land, God does not even spare us of a way to live. The 2 leaders of the Wings race were extremely hopeless at this moment. They've even had completely lost their fighting will. However, they did not notice that after Shi Yan had thrown the ring out, the 9 Serenities' soul-devouring flame inside of the white crystal chunk had lost its mocking intimidation. The handsome face gradually exposed an insecure look. The devilish silver pupils stared at the blood vein ring without blinking. It seemed to sense that something was unusual. It has some changes. There are some changes inside of it. Very strange. We have hope. We have hope. A feeble sense of the ice-cold flame was sent out from the blood vein ring. The ice-cold flame inside of the blood vein ring seemed to be extremely frightened. It had seemed to figure out a major earth-shaking change. My God, it is building a new shelter inside of the platform based on the shape of the stone. It is... What? Shi Yan got stunned. A blinding stream of lights shot out from his eyes. A condensed blood aureole like fresh blood slowly spread out from the blood vein ring. The blood vein ring quietly dropped on the outside of the stone. The pattern on the blood vein ring's surface gradually transformed, forming a mysterious formation. Gradually, that formation turned into a Bagua figure. A flow of red lights flashed up in the middle of the formation, then disappeared. Right after that, the hilt of the mysterious giant blazing red sword hidden deep inside the blood vein ring flew out all of a sudden. The mysterious giant sword dragged the 100-meter blood halo along, traumatically shot out destructive aura, then slashed down the shelter of the huge stone block. Swoosh! The giant sword could have easily torn off the shelter, which was refined by the heaven light, just like it was made from thin paper. The shelter immediately shattered into pieces. Bagua describes 8 trigrams used in Taoist cosmology to represent the fundamental principles of reality, seen as a range of 8 interrelated concepts. Each consists of 3 lines, each line either broken or unbroken, respectively representing yin or yang. Chapter 269. Confine it. As soon as the giant's sword swung up, the shelter was torn off in a blink. In the center of the stone platform, the handsome face of the nine Serenities soul-devouring flame inside of the crystal chunk had changed dramatically. Dishan and Yuro had originally been hopeless, didn't believe in Shi Yin anymore. However, after seeing what happened when the giant's sword had slashed down, they regained their hopes. The two of them were in shock while excitedly looking at the mysterious giant sword. They were waiting for more remarkable changes that the giant's sword could make. Shi Yan's mouth opened to make a joyful smile. His face showed an exciting look as he felt that the blood vein ring was miraculously getting more unpredictable. Only one slash of the giant's sword could tear off the shelter. After it flew up dragging a bloody 100-meter-long halo, it struck down another slash. This slash was like the creation of the world. The aggressiveness, the toughness could be seen in it. The body of the sword had emitted a massive murderous aura, which seemed to be able to crush everything into ashes. Ripping. The splendid white crystal chunk was splashed into many small pieces just like soft tofu, releasing the nine Serenities soul-devouring flame. Boom, boom, boom. An explosive sound like thunderbolts came out from deep inside of the Sound Beast Mountain. The explosion was extremely devastating. Even though the Sound Beast Mountain was so enormous, after that earth-shaking explosion, it violently shook and rapidly collapsed. Many huge 100-meter-long rocks fell down massively. Many of the high-class warriors of the demonic Sound Clan and the Wings race, who had come closer to the mountain intentionally, were threatened to death and ran out away from the mountain as fast as they could. Some other high-class warriors were hovering in the air and looking over ahead. As they saw the scene in front of their eyes of dust and ashes scattered everywhere, the Sound Beast Mountain was collapsing. The world was disappearing and soon returned to the chaos as it used to be at the beginning of the universe. They started to feel hopeless, nervous, and terrified. Chao Zhilan, Gu Linglong, Chu Yanqing, He Qing Man, and the other warriors from the Kiara Sea who were still confined in the cage could also feel strong vibrations and changes of the earth. They felt insecure with a shocking look on their faces. Shi Yin had freed the soul seal that had been planted inside Chao Zhilan. In this critical moment, she could not wait any longer, using the star martial spirit to check everywhere outside. Her sense approached towards the Sound Beast Mountain's direction. Not good. An extreme ferocious creature has appeared inside of the Sound Beast Mountain. After checking for a while, Chao Zhilan's expression abruptly changed while talking to the other three girls. Inside of the mountain, its living form is unique. I've never seen anything like this before. Everyone was all frightened. They are being screwed there, Chao Zhilan mumbled to herself. An intention of escape suddenly sprang into her mind while she looked at the warriors of the Chao family. The Sound Beast Mountain has started to collapse. There is certainly a major change over there. Or let's go there to see. Duolong, Kaba, Yimeng, and Etianimo were at a corner inside of the mountain, discussing together with serious faces. They could understand each other's thoughts through their eyes. Once the Sound Beast Mountain collapses, according to the ancestors' guidance, this space will be also destroyed soon. When this place returns to nihility, we cannot change our fate even if we hide inside of here. Etianimo said with cold eyes. If it is like this, we should go to see what has happened after all. Perhaps we can find a way to survive. That's right. If there are any ways to get out of here, it will be where the nine Serenities soul-devouring flame is. We might have a chance to get out of here there. Staying here cannot do anything for us anyway. It is like waiting for death. Duo Long agreed. He was the first one who rushed towards the other three people of Shi Yan's without hesitation. The other three leaders of the demonic Sound Clan also instantly followed after him with only a little hesitation. Stupid humankind, you've just helped me to get out of the seal. After the splendid white crystal chunk had been broken, the silver nine Serenities soul-devouring flame appeared in the center of the stone platform. The devilish faces condensed by the burning fires made others feel ambiguous and unreal. Yet, its soul-destructive aura was extremely tremendous. Anyone who had soul consciousness could feel that the murderous aura which made the other's souls tremble in fear. The mysterious giant sword had whipped out 2 slashes in total. One had broken the shelter which sealed the stone. The other had broken the white crystal chunk which confined the 9 Serenities' soul-devouring flame, facilitating it to escape from the seal. After the 9 Serenities' soul-devouring flame flew out, the giant sword made no moves then, as if it knew even if it could attack again, it would be useless. The giant sword that was floating in the air was emitting violent murderous aura which slowly moved towards the blood vein ring. Woo-woo. The 9 Serenities' soul-devouring flame did not notice this sword. As soon as it got out, it immediately dashed towards Yin, Dishan, and Uro as fast as lightning. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The faint blue halo was hit by a bundle of burning fires, sprinkling embers everywhere. The blue star crystal in Dishan's hand contracted quickly. Dishan's face changed dramatically. He shouted to Yin while looking at him with a severe face, "I can't hold it any longer. You'd better find a solution." Just in a short time, the blue star crystal in Dishan's hand shrank to a child-sized fist. With this reducing speed, the blue star crystal would only have lasted for a few minutes more. Then its power would have been completely drained. The blue star crystal could project the powerful halo which could prevent the burning fires of the 9 Serenities' soul-devouring flame. Dishan had decided to come inside here because of this blue star crystal. Once the blue star crystal consumed all of its power, there was no more protection from the blue halo. By that time, the 9 Serenities' soul-devouring flames burning fires would incinerate their souls to ashes instantly. Especially Yin, as he was only ranked at the Earth realm. Even if he had the Sea of Consciousness, he would be unable to prevent one strike from the 9 Serenities' soul-devouring flame. He would be burned to death in no time. Don't rush. While Dishan and Uro was nervous, Yin was still calm. He slowly said with a faint smile, "Wait and see. It will be unable to attack for long." Dishan and Uro got bewildered. With suspicion, they wondered where Yin's confidence came from. "Dishan, what are you guys doing?" Right at this moment, a voice came up from a distance. Duolong's figure suddenly ceased, then moved backward immediately. As soon as he saw the 9 Serenities' soul-devouring flame, he could feel the soul-destructive power from it, especially when he saw it leaving Dishan's and the other two's place and was now approaching towards him. Duolong shouted in fear, turned around, and ran away from that place while beginning to regret his decision to come here. The 3 leaders of the demonic Sound Clan were lagging behind Duolong because of their special feeble bodies. When they were on the way coming in, seeing Duolong fleeing fast, without thinking, they instantly turned around and ran away even faster than Duolong. Duolong screamed out frighteningly and nervously, hoping that Dishan would help him out of this deadly situation. Dishan ignored him. Uro's beautiful eyes lit up a cold light. She said with a smirk on her face, "He probably wanted to have a part of the treasure. Regretfully, he came here at the wrong time. It's good if he dies anyway. If he dies, we will be more peaceful." Without Duolong, the 3 leaders of the demonic Sound Clan can do nothing. Is that right, Dishan? Dishan replied with frigid eyes. He unites with the 3 leaders of the demonic Sound Clan to kill Yin. It means he's taken a stand against us. It looks like he will not complete his wish. Yin was astonished. "No worries. If Duolong dies, at least I can assure that there will be no more danger for you." Uro smiled and gently said, "The other 3 leaders are not the match for Dishan and me. Now you can feel at ease." While Dishan and Uro were talking, the 9 Serenities' soul-devouring flame was attacking towards Duolong. The devilish handsome face quickly went into Duolong's body and head. Duolong suddenly held his head and screamed out miserably. The screams were extremely sorrowful, which meant that he was suffering severe pain and bitterness. Duolong's doomed. Dishan shook his head. He suddenly looked at Yin and said, "Don't you need to hurry up? This blue star crystal will die soon." Yin raised his eyebrows, bowed his head to glance at the blue star crystal in Dishan's hand, which was now as big as a soap bar. I know it's time to bring it on," Yin said emotionlessly, "but actually, He felt miserable inside while looking at the blood vein ring on the ground. After hesitating for a moment, he walked to the blood vein ring. Woo! When he just started his first step, the blood vein ring instantly flew up and turned into a flow of bloody pink lights advancing straight to him. Yin got stunned, lifted his hand to catch the blood vein ring. However, as soon as his 5 fingers opened, he realized that the blood vein ring had already been on one of his fingers. At the same time, the giant sword, which was floating in the air, also shrank instantly and plunged towards the ring, dragging the devastating aura along. Shan's and Yuro's pupils shrank instantly, showing an insecure feeling. These 2 God Realm warriors could feel an earth-shaking power from the giant sword. That surging power was extremely outrageous, which also scared them a little. They were certain that there were numerous of mysterious secrets hidden inside this sword, which could even intimidate them. Eventually, the sword disappeared into the ring on Yan's finger without leaving any trace. Yuro slightly let out a sigh. 2 of them gave each other a quick glance, implying that they had discovered more of Yan's secrets. Yin did not notice the changed expression on their faces. After getting the blood vein ring back on his finger, Yin immediately released his soul consciousness to check on the situation inside of the blood vein ring. Inside the blood vein ring, besides the ice-cold flame, the earth flame, and the area of the mysterious giant sword, there was a newly created area. In the ambiguous white blank, there was an enormous octagonal-shaped stone block, a splendid white crystal chunk, a hollow mountain. After looking at the scenery carefully and sensing the time inside of the blood vein ring, Yan's face was bizarre. His eyes kept sparking while his eyebrows were knitting tightly. The 4th space of the blood vein ring was exactly the same to where he was standing right now. Everything in his current place, lava rock mountain flanks, the stone block, the crystal chunk, even the sealing forces on the stone, were set up exactly the same inside of the blood vein ring. He did not notice any tiny differences between the scene inside and outside of the ring. The blood vein ring had prepared everything to seal the 9 Serenities soul-devouring flame. Confine it, Yin shouted while he lifted the blood vein ring with the ring's surface towards the 9 Serenities soul-devouring flame. The 9 Serenities soul-devouring flame, which had penetrated Duolong's body, suddenly screamed out loud, "What is it? I can't believe it can drag me out." Chapter 270, Make You My Master. The ear-piercing scream of the 9 Serenities soul-devouring flame was even louder than the sounds of the Sound Beast Mountain's collapse. It was staying inside of Duolong's head with extreme fear. Duolong's eyes were gradually losing its vital signs. Deep inside of his pupils had a gloomy, bold silver color. It was obvious that the soul of the patriarch of the Grey Wings clan had been burned, and he had lost his life in just a short time. Shan and Yuro both showed their panic when they had seen Duolong's death. However, the ear-piercing cry of the 9 Serenities soul-devouring flame gave the 2 of them hope. They focused more on Yin besides them and considered their ancestors' guidance more seriously. Had the fates already been soon arranged? That thought couldn't help but come across their minds. Thinking about making that unweaned rascal their master, the 2 of them did not even know whether they should cry or smile. But they could not smile. Shan knew that if Yin wouldn't have come there, although the Sound Beast Mountain might not have collapsed this fast and the land here would not have been in chaos in such a short time like this, they still could not have escaped from the chain of their fates and would certainly have been confined in this place forever. Moreover, the 2 of them had reached the spirit realm. If they had more time, they hopefully could have entered the true God realm. If they stayed in this devilish space, once they reached the true God realm, what awaited them would not be applauses but the punishment of God from deep inside of the sky. The other 3 leaders, including Kaba, Etianimo, and Yimeng, had hidden away, leaving no traces as soon as they saw that the 9 Serenities soul-devouring flame had gotten out. The Sound Beast Mountain continued falling down. The earth-shaking thunder kept roaring. Those people inside of the mountain knew better than anyone else that the space here was going to become a void, possibly in the next second. Time was extremely tight. Capture it. Yin coldly shouted while raising his finger with the blood vein ring on, pointing the ring's surface towards Duolong from a distance. The blood vein ring suddenly emitted the dazzling pink lights. Many flows of the pink lights that were like torrential waves of the sea stormed towards Duolong and quickly covered his dead body in just a blink. No. The handsome, peculiar face hidden inside Duolong's head was forcefully pulled out. After it had been drawn out of Duolong's head, it uncontrollably flew towards Yin. Dishan's and Yuro's visage had greatly changed. They instinctively moved backward. They immediately felt thrilled. After being stunned for a second, they hastily stopped receding. There were no other ways to recede. Only staying inside of the blue halo could help them avoid that soul attack. No matter wherever that they ran away, if they got outside of the blue halo's protection, it was impossible to prevent their souls from being incinerated. Dishan and Yuro reacted promptly. They immediately stopped. No. No. The 9 Serenities' soul-devouring flame frighteningly screamed while constantly struggling to escape from the blood vein ring's attraction. However, despite how much it tried, it became weak and powerless when the pink light hit it. Under the attentive look of Yin, Dishan, and Yuro, the miraculous heaven flame, which had been sealed inside of the Sound Beast Mountain for a very long time, had no more powers to fight against being drawn into the blood vein ring little by little. Yan's finger poked out of the blue halo, pointed towards that flame from a distance. Eventually, the 9 Serenities' soul-devouring flame turned into a flow of silver lights, flashed up and disappeared into the blood vein ring on Yan's finger. Heaven and earthine aura suddenly stirred up disorderly and could not condense itself anymore. Boom, boom, boom. The Sound Beast Mountain looked like it had just lost its last essential meaning of existence. It was collapsing with the speed that was even several times faster than before. Dishan and Yuro were still in a panic, looking at Yin with unbelievable eyes. It was hard to believe what had just happened. After the 9 Serenities' soul-devouring flame had been attracted into the blood vein ring, Yin did not even bother to send out his consciousness to check the inside of the ring. Instead, he immediately approached the huge stone platform, picked up the sky-breaking shuttle on the stone, and put it into the blood vein ring right away. "Let's go." Yin looked at Dishan and Yuro and said with a faint smile, "We should be safe now." Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. A blinding halo was projected from the sky, which diffused a flow of extremely violent surging power. The thunder and thunderbolts were roaming and booming. Rocky stairs suddenly appeared one by one from nowhere, linking up the huge stone platform with the sky. The rocky stairs led to the halos converging in the sky, which was like heaven's stairway connecting with the ether. The heaven stairway appears. The ancestors' guidance. I can't believe it is true." Dishan raised his head up to the sky, mumbling to himself with an astonished face. He seemed to have been deeply immersed in some old memories that he looked dazed for a while. Yuro was also amazed. Her beautiful eyes became brighter. After a moment, she suddenly burst into laughter, guffawed, and laughed until her stomach hurt. She no longer kept her usual delicate manners. Yin looked at the two people with suspicion. He wondered what had made the two of them go insane at this sensitive point of time. "It is you indeed." Yuro laughed until tears almost rolled out. She held her belly, pointing to Yin while talking to Dishan without stopping laughing. "What else do you have to say?" Dishan's sturdy body was shocked. His countenance was extremely complicated. After contemplating for a while, without bothering about the collapsing mountain or scattering rubble, Dishan suddenly got down on his knees in front of Yin, bowed his head and said with a low voice, "Dishan, the patriarch of the Black Wings clan, from now on, I swear to make you my master. It will never change until death." Yuro, the matriarch in power of the White Wings clan, swear to make you my master. It will never change until death. Yuro smiled gently, respectfully kneeled down with a serious face and swore. Yin was shocked with his eyes and mouth wide open. Boom, boom, boom. The Sound Beast Mountain almost collapsed completely. The mountain looked as if it was cut and slashed by hammers and sabers, which resulted in many giant rocks and stones rolling down. It was unknown when the compact thunderbolt net had disappeared without a trace. The sky was getting calmer. In the dark sky, there gradually appeared an etherous area. This thing? Shi Yin was dazed on the spot. He did not know what Dishan and Yuro wanted to do after all, or if they were really honest about it. At this time, he was so confused, he didn't know what else he could say. The two of them did not wait for Shi Yan's reaction either. After kneeling down, Dishan and Yuro stood up at the same time, raised their heads looking at the heaven stairway piercing up straight to the sky. Yuro said with a smile, "Master, let's take the heaven stairway. We can finally get out of this devilish place." Master. Shi Yin thought carefully about this heavy word with his tightly knitted eyebrows. Are you really sincere? From now on, you are the master of our two tribes. So, even without duolong, we will make the other pagans earnestly follow the ancestors' guidance. Di Shan's eyes flared up a strange light. Master, you now have 3 kinds of heaven flames. Your existence is the biggest fear of the demonic Sound Clan. Moreover, with Yuro's and my pressure, I think the demonic Sound Clan shouldn't be unlikely to be subdued. This thing, Master, your coming here is the God's will. We only follow the predestined fate of God. Yuro revealed a smile, looking at Shi Yin. I've explained to you, Master, because you have helped our 2 tribes to get out of this abandoned land, as well as you have the blood of the immortal God King, you will become the master of the 2 tribes. We have to follow the ancestors' guidance. This place is going to collapse. Master, let's take the heaven stairway first. Dishan lightly shouted. Shi Yin was still not sure what the 2 of them wanted, but he did not feel their wickedness anyway. He immediately stepped up and stood on the heaven stairway after a little hesitation. Dishan and Yuro also stepped on the stairway only after Shi Yin had already stood there. They were standing 2 steps lower than his. The Sound Beast Mountain tremendously exploded as expected. The explosive sound reverberated. The mountain, which had lasted for so many years, was collapsing little by little. From the heaven stairs that they were standing on, the mountain was tumbling down and scattered everywhere. While Shi Yin was standing on the heaven stairway, he realized that even though the Sound Beast Mountain was crashing into pieces, it did not affect him at all. To be exact, the collapse of the Sound Beast Mountain seemed to be tied up by an invisible force so that no rocks could touch the heaven stairway. The area surrounding the stairway was safe from all the scattering rocks and debris. Despite the fact that that thing was abnormal and just somehow had naturally happened, it brought Shi Yin a feeling that it was originally supposed to be like this. In no time after the explosion, the Sound Beast Mountain no longer existed. The massive mighty mountain fell down in a very short time. Giant rocks strewed everywhere. Under the blue sky, the place, where the Sound Beasts had used to live, remained only a stairway running up to the sky. There were 3 people standing on it. Outside of the Sound Beast Mountain, the top-class warriors had soon fled away very far, avoiding the mountain's collapse, which could harm them. After the brutal collapse, with astonishment, they now could see the heaven stairway piercing up to the sky, as well as 3 people standing at the bottom end of the stairway. The 3 leaders of the demonic Sound Clan, Etianimo, Kaba, and Yimeng, were really shocked with the unbelievable look in their eyes, dazedly looking at those 3 people on the staircase. Dishan frowned while glancing at those 3 people from the distance, then shouted, Etianimo, Kaba, Yimeng, come here. I have something to tell you. The 3 of them got bewildered for a while before obediently rushing towards Dishan. Tens of millions of pagans surrounding, all raised their heads up to the sky, looking at the heaven stairway, wondering what had happened after all. The 3 leaders of the demonic Sound Clan had arrived by Dishan's side just in a blink. They all spoke up simultaneously. That 9 Serenities has been subdued by him. Dishan lifted his hand. A miraculous circle of waves diffused and temporarily blockaded the surrounding area, not to let any sound out. The expression of the 3 leaders changed dramatically. Let me introduce again to you. Yuro suddenly stiffened her face, pointing at Shi Yin, and said, This is our master who also has 3 kinds of heaven flames. The blood of the immortal God King is running in his veins. I think you all know about the ancestors' guidance. As being the leaders of the demonic Sound Clan, do you know how to behave in front of him? What? Yiming shouted in fear. Did I not make myself clear? Uro frowned and said with a cold voice, as he can bring our two tribes out of this place, together with that bloodline. We have to make him our master. The three of you, do you want to ignore the ancestors' guidance? Do you understand what it means? Etion Mo's face was shivering. He couldn't help but ask, where is Duolong? He's dead. Deshan frigidly looked at the three leaders. He was incinerated to ashes by the 9 Serenities' soul-devouring flame, which is now in our master's hand. Although the 9 Serenities' soul-devouring flame cannot be used at present, the other 2 heaven flames are still enough to entirely destroy your demonic Sound Clan. Etion Mo's complexion changed dramatically. He suddenly bowed towards Shi Yin respectfully after hesitating for a while and said, I am one of the leaders of the demonic Sound Clan, Etion Mo. Now take the vow to make you my master. Kaba's and Yiming's pupils shrank. They let out a sigh, bowed their heads dolefully, bent down towards Shi Yin. We vow to make you our master. Chapter 271, The Path to Return. Make you my master. The 3 leaders of the demonic Sound Clan bowed their heads in front of Shi Yin. Although they were not very pleased, they still did it. From this moment, the destiny of the demonic Sound Clan was in Shi Yan's hands. Deshan and Uro gave them a despised glance with a smirk on their faces, as if they had already known in advance that these 3 people of the demonic Sound Clan could not have avoided Shi Yan's intimidation. Shi Yin was like he got lost in the misty cloud, showing his days, feeling like he was in a dream while looking at the 3 leaders of demonic Sound Clan. Is it that simple? No resistance, no bargain, no discontent. Those 3 leaders just simply submit like that. Revealing a big grin, Shi Yin said to the 3 leaders with a joyful face, Are you serious? The 3 of them, Etion Mo, Kaba, and Yiming, nodded reluctantly, as they were content with Shi Yan's status. Very good. I think we've all come to an agreement. Deshan said with his knitted eyebrows. Only we know about this. Wait until the right time to tell the others. I think our people will not understand our decision and persistence for now. Only when our master becomes truly more powerful, they will then accept him as their master. Deshan looked at Shi Yin. Shi Yin also understood it. He nodded with a smile and said, I will not talk about it to anyone. Everything will be carrying out as usual. Only from now on, everyone needs to follow the rules. Uro smiled, thought for a while before speaking seriously. I think the most important thing to do first is to figure out how to get out of this place. The heaven stairways has appeared. Our way out is just right in front of us. Deshan raised his head and confidently said, We can arrange to bring people out of here. We don't need to stay here any longer. But time is tight. We should hurry. Master, we'll go and arrange it now. The 3 leaders of the demonic Sound Clan respectfully asked for permission, looking at Shi Yin and waiting for his approval. Shi Yin was bewildered. He still couldn't adapt to the sudden changes of those 3 people. After musing for a while, he reluctantly flipped his hand and said contently, You should go check and prepare. I don't understand the situation thoroughly right now. Moreover, to be honest, my competencies are still limited and my experience is not as much as yours. You do whatever you think is good and reasonable. Later on, you don't need to ask for my opinions. After his words, the 3 leaders of the demonic Sound Clan and the 2 leaders of the Wings race all got astounded, looking at Shi Yin strangely. They had assumed that as Shi Yin just took his accession, as well as being young, ambitious, and aggressive, he would definitely have his own thoughts and viewpoints. He was a young man anyway. The youth always want to show off and usually have many opinions. Of course, he would have to pay for it. But isn't it the way that all of the powerful leaders will grow up and get stronger? The 5 of them had been actually well prepared to listen to Shi Yan's opinions before they gave out their viewpoints and showed him the right direction. However, they did not expect that Shi Yin was that determined, so determined that it seemed he was not really excited about becoming their 2 tribes' master. If this guy were neither so stupid nor confident, after going through too many dangerous incidents, he would have rested peacefully without caring about fame and fortune. After all, what kind of person was Shi Yin? I don't know anything about this place, so I am not able to bluster. Under the stares of those 5 people, Yin shrugged and revealed a faint smile. I just want to get out of this place quickly. If you can arrange and finish this soon, I'm already appreciated. Anyway, I don't think we have much time left. As he looked to a further distance, the vast ground was gradually turning into the void. It was unknown what changes this space had gone through. However, at this moment, this space seemed to base on some previous orbit, was vanishing little by little. It had started to completely collapse. The 5 leaders got frightened after hearing what Yin had said. They subconsciously looked around without saying anything further. Then, they nodded to Yin and gently leaped up and left. Line up. Climb on the heaven stairways. Keep going up no matter what you see or hear. This heaven stairways is the way leading to the outside world. Hurry up. We can't be late anymore. All of the Black Wings race's people, listen. After the 5 of them left and flew up to the sky, they descended on the place of their clans. They either shouted or commanded their people. Not long after that, the pagans of the 2 tribes started to be convulsive. Everyone lined up as commanded. That is, Chao Zilan's beautiful face displayed an insecure feeling, while she looked towards Yin, who was standing alone on the heaven stairways far from her. She began to worry if she was to be left behind or not. Although she could have used the star martial spirit, she still didn't dare to do it recklessly as there were so many demonic Sound Clan's high-class warriors around. However, she was good at observation. Through the conversation among Dishan, Etian and Yin, she somehow figured out something. Those pagan leaders seemed to respect him very much. Was this possible?
Father!
ECU shouted suddenly, rushing towards Etian. What? Etian frowned annoyedly as he was busy arranging his people. What happened? How about them? ECU pointed towards Chao Zilan and the other warriors of the Kiara Sea in the cage. Bring them along, or we don't need to care whether they live or die. ECU did not like the girls of Chao Zilan's group. As she had extraordinary soul accomplishment, she could easily realize any of the movements inside of their souls. She knew that those girls always considered and planned something ominous. Since ECU was little, she had been taught that the outsiders were very treacherous, dishonorable, unreasonable, and resentful towards her people. The outsiders were basically her people's enemy. Etian Mo's teachings made her have no sympathy for the humankind. That was why when she'd found Yin, she immediately captured him without any hesitations. Etian could not decide even after considering for a while. He finally had to raise his head towards Yin, who was still on the heaven stairways, sending out a flow of his soul sense to ask for his opinion. Yin was using his soul consciousness to observe everywhere, and suddenly received Etian Mo's soul sense. At first, Yin astonishingly thought that Etian had wanted to quietly harm him, so he urged all his power to defend. But then, he realized that his soul sense was neither wicked nor dangerous. After sensing that soul sense carefully, he knitted his eyebrow and instantly loosened himself. He turned to Etian from a far distance and nodded. Etian understood his thoughts and slightly bent towards Yin. Then, he immediately spoke to ECU bring them along. They alive will still be useful. You are in charge of arranging for them to go on the heaven stairways. ECU felt incomprehensive as she did not expect that her father and Yin had been close like this. Although having some doubts, she still followed her father's instruction and called Yifeng and his group. No one noticed that Chao Zilan's beautiful eyes had suddenly brightened up. Deep inside of the pupils appeared a violent tremor. The special point of her star martial spirit was that even though she did not put all of her efforts to observe around, with this short distance, she could still realize that Etian Mo's body had transmitted out a feeble soul stream and its direction was, unbelievably, towards Yin. She saw clearly Yin slightly nodded towards Etian from the distance of thousands of meters. After that, Etian had agreed to spare their lives. What is it about? No matter what Chao Zilan had imagined, she couldn't believe the truth she'd just seen with her own eyes. The leader of the demonic Sound Clan asked for his opinions. Is this for reals? What has happened between them after all? Chao Zilan's heart was like it was sinking to the bottom of an abyss. Shi Yin did not see Chao Zilan's expression. He was still standing on the heaven stairways which ran up to the cloud, wondering what mighty existence could have imposed such a powerful shelter in this abandoned land. Chasm Battlefield, the abandoned land, who has created all of these things? If the fact that I come here is really the predestination, so who is it who could actually foresee everything? With numerous doubts in his mind that were not easy to have been removed, Shi Yin wanted to find a clue but couldn't think of anything. Anyway, he didn't originally belong to this place. We are almost done. Yuro flapped her white wings and smiled. She came next to Shi Yin delicately and said gently, outside of the mountain, it starts to fall down. I think we should climb up. I am really longing to see our ancestral land where there is the sun, the moon, and the stars. I've dreamt about many wonderful things there. Yuro said those words with full of passion and desire. As she was born in this abandoned land, her knowledge since she was little was all about this land, but the desires were always burning inside of her. Every member of the demonic sound clan and the Wings race had a desire of coming home. Okay, Shi Yin revealed a smile. Although Yuro didn't explain anything, he knew that the heaven stairways had connected straight to the cloud in the sky, which was the way out of this place. When thinking about this, he let out a sigh of relief. Although he had got the sky-breaking shuttle, he still didn't know how to use it. If he really had to use this sky-breaking shuttle to bring the two tribes out of this sorrowful land, he didn't know how long it would have taken. However, he knew that if he had wanted to discover the secrets of the sky-breaking shuttle, he needed time and a lot of spirit strength. But right now, he obviously did not have much time. While thinking, Shi Yin climbed up to the end of the stairways. He was the first one who stepped on the cloud of the sky. Yuro, the matriarch of White Wings clan, followed him with a light smile, also climbed up to the sky. She stepped up on each of the rocky steps without using any of her flying powers, advancing to the sky. Shi Yin was in the front. Yuro was behind him on the stairways in front of the attentive eyes of thousands of the demonic sound clans and the Wings race's pagans. Shi Yin and Yuro slowly stepped onto the steps towards the sky. Their figure gradually vanished inside of the bright halo, disappearing from this abandoned land. Will the MC and the two tribes really get out of this damn place? Can they finally return home as they've dreamt for so long? Many unexpected things will come. Wait for more chapters to find out. I will temporarily take a break for 1 week to go traveling, so I will not upload new chapters during this week break. I will see you all again after 1 week. By the way, we need more of your supports to grow the team better. Little from you, but it is big for us. Please donate. Smiley face. P.S. Meanwhile, you can give other novels a try. All of them are interesting too. Hope you enjoy them all. Chapter 272, Snow Dragon Island. The moon shone like a shining silver tray, and the stars twinkled in the sky. Human heads emerged from the placid sea surface one by one like watermelons floating on the sea, scattering everywhere. The chilled waves were lapping. There were no islands around, only huge reefs that were like enormous horns that jutted out from the water in the middle of the sea. Shi Yin stood on one reef, looking up to the sky. He curled his lips, revealing a silent smile. They had finally returned. The presence of the stars and the moon in the sky meant that this place was not that abandoned, gloomy, unlighted land. No matter where this was, being able to see the stars in the sky and feel the energies that radiated from those stars was so welcoming to him. Energies of numerous stars from the sky quietly poured in and gathered into the star martial spirit in his heart. He did not know how to make the most use of this martial spirit yet, but he knew that the star martial spirit was extraordinary. Especially after he had absorbed the sun refined spirit, he somehow felt that the star martial spirit had a great transformation. He could not clearly describe that transformation, but he knew it was marvelous, which had been added to the star martial spirit's wonder. His spirit was gradually immersed into the blood vein ring. The consciousnesses of the ice-cold flame and the thousand earth flame were promptly sent out to ask for his opinions. It's okay. Shi Yin replied. While he was investigating in silence, he realized the space where the 9 Serenities' soul-devouring flame was being confined was exactly similar to the setup of the seal inside the Sound Beast Mountain. The 9 Serenities' soul-devouring flame, neither its aura nor its surge soul, was still impounded inside of the huge crystal chunk. Shi Yin could see it, but couldn't sense its living aura, except for his peculiar feelings about the flame. When the ice-cold flame had been confined by the blood vein ring, Shi Yin could still sense and communicate with it. Although he could not use its forces, he clearly felt its aura and icy energies. But the 9 Serenities' soul-devouring flame was different. It seemed that the blood vein ring was very careful with it, hiding all of its aura and soul. When Shi Yin's spirit entered the blood vein ring, he could only see it, but was impossible to have any interactions with it. After slowly retrieving his spirit, Shi Yin stood on the reef, observing around with his knitted eyebrows. On the sea, the pagans of the demonic Sound Clan and the Wings race slowly rose above the water. They all found something to cling onto and stand up. Reefs were everywhere nearby. They easily found a place to rest upon. Those pagans from the abandoned land were insanely happy after they firmly stood on the reefs. They cheerfully looked up at the starry sky and kept praising. The sparkling stars and the shining moon were something they'd never seen before. Those pagans had been placed in confinement for countless years. When they raised their heads looking up towards the sky, they instinctively felt emotional as if they were now alive again. Many of their eyes were filled with tears. Even the pagan leaders Dishan, Uro, and Etianimo couldn't help but sob as well. When they looked up to the starry sky, their bodies trembled and impossibly restrained their emotions. Very long after that, the 5 leaders quietly held back their emotions, flew, and gathered beside Shi Yin. "We are eventually here." Uro's voice was full of sensation. "Having been confined for so many years, we've always known that this world is very beautiful. Yet, that starry sky still brings us so many emotions. Master, we are really grateful to you." With his slightly knitted eyebrows, Shi Yin contemplated for a while before saying, "I don't know about your ancestors' guidance, but I am not familiar with the way you are addressing me." "What?" Uro was a bit startled, then said with a smile, "According to the ancestors' guidance, you are our 2 tribes' master. From now on, your commands are the truth. Isn't this respectful address good?" "Just call me by my name." Shi Yin shook his head. "Besides, I don't have the intention of constraining your 2 tribes too much. You can freely do whatever it is that you want. I don't care about your ancestors' guidance, and I don't think I am qualified enough to lead the 2 tribes to acquire some earth-shaking achievements." The 5 leaders looked at him with surprise. Any warrior who had the wicked intentions of subduing the 2 tribes would never give up this chance. Why did he say something like that? Did he actually not care about these forces? "As we've made a vow, regardless of what you think, you are still our master." Unexpectedly, Ishan was the one who had had the biggest resistance before, but now he seriously said with a low voice, "The ancestors' guidance is something we have to follow. As long as you are still alive, we will have to obey your commands. Master, although your cultivations are not too strong, we do believe you will surely become a top-class warrior of this continent just in a short time. With your innate abilities, you will enter the true God realm sooner or later, even possibly reaching the King God realm." Uro's eyes lit up a strange light. "Therefore, we believe our master will lead us to a bright future as our 2 tribes have wished for. Master, you have 3 kinds of heaven flames, the bloodline of the immortal God King, the tremendous innate abilities, as well as the knowledge of using the demonic Sound Clan's spiritual Upanishads. In addition, you also seem to have a terrifying giant sword, which emits a horrifying aura that can even frighten me. No matter what, Master's future will be very glorious. Our longevity is very long. We can wait until the day when you become the most magnificent warrior." Dishan slightly said. The faces of the other 3 Etianimo, Kaba, and Yiming were also serious. Shi Yin got dazed, then he shook his head and smiled miserably after a while. "I don't know what you're thinking, but right now, I will give you one more chance." After taking a deep breath, Yin looked towards the demonic Sound Clan's pagans and said, I will make myself clear. I really don't have the intentions of ruling over your two tribes. I've cooperated with you just to find the way to come back here, nothing else. As of now, our cooperation is done. You are free to leave, and you don't need to care about me. I will not bind you. You can consider it by yourselves. I've never wanted to constrain anyone. The three leaders of the demonic Sound Clan hadn't been volunteered before and had been forced by Dishan and Uro to make the vow. Yin knew that those three people were very arrogant and the murderous impact of their strong souls on the human society. Keeping these kinds of people close to oneself would have been like a ticking time bomb. If it was not used well, it would explode and kill oneself. Yin understood himself very well. Although he had knowledge about the spiritual Upanishads, it was still far less than that of those three people. Before thoroughly understanding their intentions, he shouldn't be too close to them. Etionimo beamed out some strange lights as if he was carefully considering something. Dishan and Uro looked at him with serious faces without saying anything. Kaba and Yiming were a little hesitant. They knew that Etionimo was the most insidious one. His eyes were also very vicious. Thus, they were all waiting in silence for his opinion. I've made my vow, so I would not change. Etionimo spoke up after a long while. Master, don't worry. From now on, I sincerely consider you my master without any disloyal intentions, because I also have the same belief with Dishan's and Uro's. Master, you will certainly be a well-known and great hero. We will not have to suffer disadvantages if we follow you. As soon as those words were being spoken, Kaba and Yiming's faces were as if they were in shock. After contemplating for a while, the two of them determinedly nodded. If you insist like that, I have nothing else to say. Yin slightly nodded after thinking a little bit. Although I don't have any intention to rule your two tribes, I would not say anything more if you keep insisting on putting yourselves in my hands. Splash, splash, splash. From far away, some more people were rising out of the sea. This was the last group. While talking to Kaba and Yiming, Yin suddenly glanced at the far distance. His eyebrows instantly knitted tightly. Those people were of Chao Zhilan's group from the Kiara Sea. They were the last ones after the pagans of the Wings race and the demonic Sound Clan climbing on the heaven stairways. Thus, they had appeared last. The end of the heaven stairway, which was the dazzling point of lights where everyone had just gotten in, was this rocky area. Until now, Yin still did not know what area of the Kiara Sea that this place belonged to. But as to what he felt, this place was surely a part of the Kiara Sea. Master, those people are your enemies. How should we handle them? A cruel light beamed out from his eyes. Do you want to? Said Etionimo. Just watch them for now. Keep them, as they are still useful. Yin shook his head. After thinking for a while, he suddenly pointed to Chao Zhilan and gently ordered, Bring her to me. Uro revealed a smile and flew away. After just a blink, she was already beside Chao Zhilan. She grabbed the folds of Chao Zhilan's clothes and brought her to Yin. Do you know where this is? Yin frowned and asked with a low voice. He knew Chao Zhilan was not the same as the others. She had a lot of treasures, and was also very familiar with the Kiara Sea. That was why he had asked her. Chao Zhilan indeed didn't disappoint him. Under his attentive look, Chao Zhilan took out a deep blue crystal ball. Knitting her eyebrows, she stared at that crystal with her beautiful sparkling eyes, carefully checked before shouting astonishingly, The Hengluo Sea. The Hengluo Sea. Yan's face changed slightly. He said while still being startled, How come this is the Hengluo Sea? The entrance of the chasm battlefield in the Sky Sea is very far from here. It's really weird. How come we have arrived in the sea area of the Three Gods sect? Chao Zhilan also felt strange, shaking her head implicating that she did not know either. She paused for a while before saying, This is really weird. I don't know how or why, perhaps it would be related to the Snow Dragon Island nearby. There are also some eccentric places surrounding that island. Snow Dragon Island? Yan's face displayed his emotions. He suddenly remembered a girl letting loose her bottom-length hair. That year, after he had escaped from the ice of the ice-cold flame, on the way to the Kiara Sea, he used to sit on a small boat of the Three Gods sect, where he had met a girl. Her family was in this snow dragon island. Dash. Hello guys, how are you doing? I am back now. I enjoyed my trip a lot, and I want more of it. But as I've promised, I am here now and will upload new chapters of this amazing novel. Enjoy and have a good day. Chapter 273, Spirit Gear Inside the Flying Shuttle. Chapter 273, Spirit Gear Inside the Flying Shuttle. _ On the reef, Yin was quietly listening to Chao Zilan's explanations. The Snow Dragon Island is just an island of the Hengluo Sea. There are plenty of reefs around this island. In the legend, those reefs seem to be an ancient formation of nature. The Chao family had a formation master who used to go there. He looked down at the reefs underneath from the sky and said that those reefs are somehow like an ancient portal formation. However, this is just a speculation. Although he had been studied it for a long time, he couldn't find out any clue. But in the legend, hundreds of years ago, some boats of warriors sailed across this reef area and went missing incomprehensibly, totally disappeared later on. Reefs around that island keep some mysterious secrets indeed. Chao Zilan said gently, explaining Yin the situation of the Snow Dragon Island's surrounding area. She seemed to be very familiar with the endless sea's secrets. Even a bizarre area of that small island could not escape from her Dharma eyes. After listening, Yin slightly nodded but did not have any further thought. It was obvious that the speculation of the Chao family's formation master was correct. This area did have an ancient formation. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to come here directly from the abandoned land in the chasm battlefield. I know. Yin thought for a while and nodded to Yuro. Yuro revealed a faint smile, grabbed Chao Zilan and brought her away. Not long after that, Yuro stood next to Yin again. Master, are we heading to the Snow Dragon Island? Yeah. Yin nodded and then talked to Yuro and Dishan with a light smile. Your clans will bring the demonic sound clan's pagans who cannot fly. We'll go to the Snow Dragon Island to find a place to rest. Wait until I understand more the situation of the Endless Sea. Then I'll consider what to do next. Yes. Dishan and Yuro spoke up at the same time. After that, they started discussing with Etianimo, Yiming, and Kaba. Yuro quickly walked to Yin, grabbed him and said, everything is settled. The destination is clear too. We can go now. Let me bring you with me. Yeah. Yuro stepped forward with a smile, stretched her flawless white arm grabbing Yin's arm, extended her wings widely and soared up. Many of the Wings race's pagans were a little involuntary when they were commanded to bring the demonic Sound Clan's people along. All the Wings race's pagans had wings, and the flying ability that they did not need to use any boats. Thousands of demonic Sound Clans and Wings race's pagans started to fly towards the Snow Dragon Island. How about the Grey Wings clan? Yin frowned and said, Duolong is dead. Han Long was dead in my hand as well. Maybe many people of the Grey Wings clan have already known I've killed Han Long. Right now, the Grey Wings clan has no leader. Will something bad happen? Yuro slightly laughed and said, no worry. Although Duolong is dead, Dishan and I have found a new leader for the Grey Wings clan. His name is Duo Mao, Duolong's young cousin. He also had the second sky of the Sky Realm cultivation base. Duolong and Duo Mao always had conflicts. In the Grey Wings clan, Duolong always tyrannized Duo Mao. As Duolong is dead now, plus, Dishan and I have made some arrangements, Duolu has easily become the patriarch of the Grey Wings clan. Regarding matters about you, we will find the right time to tell him. There will be no problem. Thank you. Yin slightly smiled. I know without your great help, Dishan would not be that obedient, and other three people would not sincerely yield. Without you, when we were on the mountain, I could have been killed by Etianmo's group. Ha ha. The matriarch of the White Wings clan gently laughed. Helping you is helping our two tribes, for the future of two tribes. Reality has proven that my speculation is right. If it was not because of you, our two tribes definitely couldn't have got out of that abandoned land alive, nor seen this gorgeous starry sky. Yuro raised her head looking up at the starry sky. Her beautiful face was full of desires. This starry sky only appeared in our dreams before. I've thought that I would have never seen this for my whole life, Why did you put your great efforts to help me? Shi Yin stretched his hand, quietly held Yuro's white, soft hand and gently rubbed a circle on it. He slightly lifted a corner of his mouth and said to her with a smile, "Did you fall in love with me?" Yuro's beautiful face reddened. Her watery eyes glanced at Shi Yin. She mildly smiled and said, "You didn't even do anything with those women yet. So, now you're trying to do something with me?" Shi Yin got amazed, immediately forced a smile and said, "As chance hasn't come yet, so I keep them for now. I will not take them if it's not the right time. Wait until a suitable time. I will swallow all of them at the same time. But you are different." Yuro burst out laughing. She then said gently, "Although I've made you my master, you are still not truly strong enough. So, I hardly contented myself with yielding. Want me to submit to you completely? Ha ha ha. You are still far away." "I am trying." Shi Yan's mood was very good. He felt cheerful and comfortable talking to this beautiful and delicate woman. In the early morning, thousands of pagans quietly landed inside a forest in the south of the Snow Dragon Island where human footprints were hardly seen. Before arriving, Etianimo had released his soul consciousness to explore around. He realized that there was no humankind in this place except for some low-class beasts. After having arrived, these pagans did not hurry to leave. Instead, they were waiting for their leader's instructions. In a place deep inside the forest, under an ancient 10-meter-high tree, Shi Yin took the sky-breaking shuttle out of the blood vein ring, fondled it, and quietly sent his investigating forces into it. Profound she rolled in massively, but it was like stones sank into the bottom of the sea, as there was not a single reaction arising. The shuttle didn't have any transformation. Shi Yin was dumbstruck before continuing to release his soul consciousness to check again. This time, his soul consciousness rushing into the shuttle was like it was being trapped in a swamp. There was still no information or anything abnormal. In the legend, the sky-breaking shuttle had the power that could break all kinds of formation techniques. However, if it was impossible to find out how to use it, it was not more than a useless object. As the profound chi and his soul consciousness didn't work, Shi Yin was helpless. He called the 5 leaders, gave the shuttle to Dishan and said, "You come and take a look to see if there is anything special." Dishan frowned and took the sky-breaking shuttle. He also released his sensing forces for a while before shaking his head and said, "Our wings race doesn't have an innate ability with spirit treasures. I haven't seen anything special nor known how to use it." After saying, Dishan threw Etianimo the shuttle. "You take a look. I've heard you've studied some stuff related to this. Perhaps you can find out something." Etianimo caught the sky-breaking shuttle, gradually closed his eyes, and slowly sent his powerful soul into the shuttle. Etianmo's expression was getting more and more serious. He seemed to find out something. He poured more of his soul power into it. Shi Yan's eyes brightened with hope. After a while, Etianimo slowly retrieved his soul power, slightly let out a deep breath and said to Shi Yin, "Master, it carries spirit gear. It hides very deep inside and doesn't want to communicate with me. Even though I can preclude the spirit gear, once the spirit gear is destroyed, this spirit treasure will immediately become useless." Shi Yin was surprised, took back the sky-breaking shuttle with a forced smile, and murmured, "That's not good. I don't know how to use it." "Not good, Master," Dishan suddenly shouted with a light tone. His eyes lit up a little bit as if he just remembered something. "What?" Shi Yin raised his head. Immortal blood of the immortal God King's descendants should have special influences with some objects. The owner of this treasure was dead, so it has become ownerless. If you drop your blood on it, perhaps you can find out something. Anyway, your blood is far different from that of an ordinary human," Dishan said with a low voice. Shi Yin was stunned, but then his eyes gradually brightened up. He had heard about this from the ice-cold flame. Immortal blood had some peculiar effectiveness, and restoring treasures was one of them. Although he couldn't refine his blood and turn it into the immortal blood, his blood was still quite special. Perhaps he could make this sky-breaking shuttle transformed. "I'll try it." Shi Yin contemplated a little bit, and then laughed grimly. He bit his fingertips until it bled. Each drop of his blood dripped on the sky-breaking shuttle. Unexpectedly, Each drop of his fresh blood dripping down on the sky-breaking shuttle was completely absorbed like they were falling on a sponge. After having absorbed all of Shi Yan's blood, the shuttle gradually glowed, radiating a faint yellow halo as if it was reviving little by little. Shi Yan's face was shaken. He bit his fingertips again before the wounds on them could heal. More and more drops of blood dripped down. While the sky-breaking shuttle greedily absorbed Shi Yan's blood, it was getting more luminous. After 10 drops of blood had disappeared inside it, Shi Yan retracted his arm and looked at the wounds on his fingers, which were healing gradually. After that, he stretched his hand out again, touched the sky-breaking shuttle, and poured the profound qi into it. The sky-breaking shuttle suddenly burst out a dazzling yellow light. Inside of this blinding light emitted a flow of powerful forces that twisted the space around. Shi Yan hastily retrieved profound qi in fear and surprise. He took a deep breath and sent his soul consciousness into the shuttle. Your cultivation base is too low, so you can't use me now. Wait until you reach the Nirvana realm, you then can come and talk to me. A flow of feeble consciousness came out from the sky-breaking shuttle all of a sudden. My soul is also feeble. It needs time to recover. I have to sleep now. When you reach the Nirvana realm, come and wake me up. Goodbye. The communication ended. Shi Yan was amazed. His soul consciousness flew a few more rounds, but couldn't get anything else. After a long while, he could do nothing but retrieve his soul consciousness. He beamed a forced smile, shook his head and said, "Such a weird spirit gear." "What happened?" Uro asked gently. "The spirit gear said that my cultivation base is too low, and that don't wake it up unless I reach the Nirvana realm." "Ah, this proves one thing. At least this spirit gear has accepted your status. When you reach the Nirvana realm and have stronger forces, you will be able to use this peculiar treasure. It is very normal. It's obvious that an inadequate cultivation base could not use anomalous treasures," Uro said with a smile. "Nirvana realm," Shi Yan mumbled to himself with a low tone. "Not too far to reach anyway. Now, just leave it aside." Chapter 274, The Kele Clan. When the sun just rose up, Emo brought Shi Yan along and quickly flew towards the center of the Snow Dragon Island. The wind slatted while they were flying. Emo released his soul consciousness covering the whole Snow Dragon Island. He clearly knew how many top-class warriors were there on the island, where the people gathered, which family had more warriors, etc. Shi Yan's Sea of Consciousness was still always working. The 5 devils in the Sea of Consciousness were well prepared. The host soul was also very cautious. Shi Yan's spirit was immersed in the blood vein ring. He had communicated with the 1,000 Earth Flame earlier. Once any anomalous things happened, it would immediately release the Heaven Flame's forces. He was taking precautions with Emo. Although Emo had sworn his allegiance, Shi Yan was still not very sure if he was truly sincere or had other wicked intentions. In order to further enter the Snow Dragon Island, either Dishan or Uro was not a suitable choice because they both had wings on their backs, which obviously exposed the features of their pagan tribe. Thus, their appearances would lead to some unnecessary troubles. He didn't know how long he had left the Kiara Sea or how the current situation was. Unless he thoroughly knew the situation here, he would not dare to act recklessly. The target of this trip was to consult Linda's family. He wanted to learn the current situation of the Kiara Sea through Linda. He wanted to ask her if the demon dwellers and the dark dwellers were invading every corner right now. As he could not bring any one of the Wings race, and because he also wanted to go fast, he could only choose one of the demonic Sound Clan's people. He knew choosing Emo was a little risky, but with his long-time study of the spiritual Upanishads of the demonic Sound Clan, Shi Yan could more or less rely on it. Plus, he was sure that Emo could not harm him in just that short of a moment. Unless Emo could instantly kill him, the heaven flame inside of his body would definitely be able to resist. As always being at his best defense, as well as sensing the changes in the Sea of Consciousness, Shi Yan was a little tense. Suddenly, Emo stopped in the middle of the mountains and forests. Shi Yan was amazed. He was more careful, quietly sensed every single tiny move on Etionmo's body. All of Shi Yan's attentions were now focusing on him. Master, there is a group of very low-level warriors. The strongest one is only ranked at the Earth Realm, not enough to threaten us. Etionmo's face was indifferent. His white-gray pupil looked at Shi Yan for a while, then suddenly said, Master, are you keeping an eye on me? Shi Yan was a little embarrassed, but still nodded his head frankly. I don't know whether you will take action or not. Your soul achievement is very powerful. If you really want to kill me, it's not easy to prevent it. Therefore, I always have to be cautious and carefully be on the defense. Etionmo got startled, but he could not say anything at this moment. I'm sorry. It's not that I don't believe you, but the gap between you and me is too big. And right now, I am going alone with you. I don't know if you have any other intentions, so I can be only cautious. Shi Yan explained with a forced smile. I understand. Etionmo nodded. If I were you, Master, I wouldn't have stayed alone with this dangerous person like me. As you have dared to venture alone with me, I've already been very surprised. I know Dishan and Uro are also very worried. They have actually warned me before we had left that if anything happens to their master, my subordinators will have to suffer from their bloody murderous revenge. Shi Yan was bewildered. I didn't know about this. As soon as Etionmo had told him about that fact, he somehow had a grateful feeling towards Dishan and Uro. They seemed to truly have good intentions, thus they should not be a problem anymore. With Dishan and Uro at the back end to dominate the demonic Sound Clan, even if Etionmo had any wicked plans, he would not dare to do it. Actually, Master, you don't need to be worried. Etionmo spoke up. Previously, you used to say that you didn't have any wicked intentions towards our two tribes. At that time, I was very carefully considering, and in fact, I've had a thought of leaving you. However, I still have decided to stay as Dishan and Uro did. Do you know why? Shi Yan shook his head. I don't know. Exactly as what Dishan and Uro have said, you have big potentials. Etionmo's eyes brightened up gradually. Master, although you are still young, your perception is very high, your cultivation base is profound, and there are still some secrets hidden inside of your body. Furthermore, you are the descendant, which was mentioned in our ancestors' guidance. With all these things combined, I know that you, Master, are the hope of our two tribes. Although you are still weak now, I strongly believe in your future. Shi Yan was astonished. Therefore, I honestly hope that you would soon develop and get stronger, Etionmo said seriously. Shi Yan was silent, contemplated for a while before slowly nodding his head and said, Understood. Etionmo's face loosened. He pointed forward and said, There is a group of warriors over there. You should have something to ask them. Let's go over there? Okay. This time, Etionmo didn't bring Shi Yan along with him. Instead, they walked over their shoulder by shoulder. Not long after that, they saw a group of roughly 10 warriors holding weapons in their hands and riding the flame horses towards the center of the Snow Dragon Island. Shi Yan and Etionmo walked out of the thick forest, where the third or the fourth level beasts usually frequented. For those warriors, things on the beasts were really precious. By looking at the way they dressed, Shi Yan and Etionmo guessed that those warriors should be the mercenaries who came to this area to explore. Sorry to bother you guys. Shi Yan suddenly walked out from a tree, stood in front of those people, and said with a smile, May I ask which direction leads to the Kele clan? Linda's family was the Kele. When Shi Yan had parted from her, she had asked him to carefully remember that. Shi Yan's appearance frightened those people so much that they all jumped up in shock. The expression of around 10 warriors dramatically changed. They stopped their flame horses and unwillingly looked at Shi Yan. A skinny, elderly man among them coldly harumphed and said, Little rascal, where are you from? In the Snow Dragon Island, just a few people don't know of the Kele clan. You should be an outsider for sure. Shi Yan nodded with a smile, glancing at that elderly man. He realized that the old man was a warrior ranked at the first sky of the Earth Realm, who also was the strongest one among them. That's right. I am from the other island. I want to find the Kele clan. Would you mind showing me? I can't just merely tell you about it. The old man coldly laughed and arrogantly said, "Do you have something to exchange for the information?" "Not a problem." Shi Yin threw him a crystal chunk. The crystal chunk turned to be a current of lights flying towards that old man. His countenance was still frosty at first. However, as soon as he caught the crystal chunk, he looked at it carefully and got insanely joyful, shouting out loud, "High-grade star crystal. Now, can you tell me where the Kele clan is?" Shi Yin knew the high-grade crystal was very precious with these kinds of warriors. He smilingly said, "I am in a hurry. Can you please tell me quickly?" "Elder Tai, is it a star crystal for real?" A handsome youth on a flame horse asked with an excitement. The old man, who was called Elder Tai, nodded constantly, touching the crystal chunk excitedly. Although he was extremely happy with this crystal, his greed was getting bigger. After having a light dry cough, he said, "One crystal chunk is not enough. Little rascal, give me another 3 more." After hearing Elder Tai's words, the other warriors immediately got what he meant. They instantly surrounded Shi Yin, laughing greedily. Shi Yin frowned. His eyes became frigid. He suddenly took action without waiting for them to speak any further. His figure quickly dashed towards that old man like lightning. Shi Yan's arm was like a sharp sword lunging straight to the greedy old man's belly. Plork! A bloody fist-sized hole appeared in the middle of the old man's belly. Shi Yan's body slightly moved, suddenly spread out and slaughtered the other surrounding warriors. 1 minute later, 10 warriors were crumpled in blood. All of their chi were completely absorbed by Shi Yin. Shi Yin had also known the exact Kele clan's location from a warrior before he had died. Etianimo hadn't taken action. He just stood aside observing quietly. He witnessed the scene where Shi Yin had slaughtered satisfactorily, killing 10 strange warriors, leaving no one alive. For bystanders, Shi Yan's deed was very cruel. However, Etianimo was quietly contented with it. His eyes were full of compliments for Shi Yin, while he realized Dishan's and Yuro's words were very true. When Shi Yin had been in the abandoned land, he had always been sincere and obedient. Although he had shown his innate abilities, he had never exposed his other outstanding aspects. Etianimo was always worried that Shi Yin only had the innate abilities, but lacked other necessarily suitable personalities. However, currently, as he had witnessed Shi Yan's cruel action, he finally felt more assured. Until this moment, he heartfully accepted Shi Yin as his young master with low cultivation base. Completely wiping the blood stains away on his arm, Shi Yin walked to the side of Etianimo with a cold face and said, "Let's go. If there is no one around, we should leave hurriedly."
"Yes."
Etianmi replied. There seemed to have more honest respect in his voice. He brought Shi Yin along and flew up. Many villages and cities situated at the foot of the imposing snow mountain chain. Plenty of warriors, who had cultivated the martial arts, frequented this area very often. The Snow Dragon Mountain was the essential area of the Snow Dragon Island. As there were many special medical herbs and hovering spirit aura on the mountain, this was a perfect place for the warriors to cultivate. Therefore, those warriors, who had been cultivating on the Snow Dragon Mountain chain, all gathered at the foot of the mountain. Shi Yin and Etianimo had crossed some villages and cities, advancing towards the beautiful architectural complex situated at the foot of the Snow Dragon Mountain. The Kele clan, one of the 3 clans on the Snow Dragon Island, habited at the foot of the mountain all year round. They were the loyal believers of the 3 gods sect, who were also considered the 3 gods sect's external forces. Shi Yin and Etianimo arrived at the gate of the Kele clan. Shi Yin beamed a smile and said that he came to see Linda. As soon as Shi Yin said he wanted to see their lady, the 2 guards scanned him from top to toe as if they wanted to see through him. After a while, one of them spoke up neglectingly, "Little rascal, who are you? Our lady is busy with a lot of matters. Don't say something of nonsense if you don't want to lose your face. You, please go and tell your lady that my name is Shi Yin. Come back tomorrow. Right now, our lady might be in the main hall discussing important issues with the other 2 clansmen. She surely doesn't have time to talk to you today." That guard knitted his eyebrows and replied to Shi Yin, "You come here tomorrow morning. I will report to her." Now it is impossible. Etionimo frowned, asking for Shi Yan's opinion with a low voice. Do we have to? Shi Yan nodded. The two guards suddenly got bewildered. Their eyes became bleary. They stood motionlessly on the spot. Shi Yan went straight inside. Chapter 275. Who are you after all? Chapter 275. Who are you after all? Shi Yan walked ahead while Etionimo was right behind him. This big Kele clan didn't have just a few guards. However, these cautious warriors in the Snow Dragon Island seemed to be blind. No one had seen Shi Yan and Etionimo walking all the way in towards the main hall. The advantage of the soul capacity of the demonic Sound Clan had been fully launched. Etionimo followed Shi Yan without saying a word. Even Shi Yan hadn't realized what he had done, but all the warriors had dazed faces like they were complete idiots. Etionimo honestly considered Shi Yan to be his master. Once he had determinedly decided to put in all of his efforts towards helping Shi Yan, the demonstration of his abilities had amazingly surprised Shi Yan. Master, you don't need to be worried. My soul consciousness can cover the entire Snow Dragon Island. If I trigger my consciousness, lives and deaths of all the warriors on this island will be in your words no matter how far the distance is. As Etionimo seemed to realize Shi Yan's doubts, he gently explained Shi Yan what he was capable of doing in assisting Shi Yan while still following him. Shi Yan was frightened. That abandoned land was created so that it could restrain us there. There has always existed an invisible force. Therefore, regardless of either me, Kaba, Yiming, Dishan, or Yuro, none of us could use our real powers because they were limited in that abandoned land. However, when we arrived here, no such forces can restrain us any further. This feeling is incredibly wonderful. I have just somehow seen that our forces are increasing, and it's just not by a little. Etionimo didn't look like he was kidding. He said with a serious face, after having arrived here, we have now become real warriors with our true abilities. Our previous forces should have been repressed one realm lower than now. With a slightly changed countenance, Shi Yan tried to restrain his feelings of being in a daze and said with a low voice, You said, in that abandoned land, your god realm could only launch forces which were equivalent to those of the Sky Realm warriors? Etionimo nodded quietly. Shi Yan's eyes flared up a strange light. He nodded, forced a smile, and said after a while, Not having become your enemy is a good thing indeed. It has also been wondering from before. It didn't seem, back in the abyss, that you were as strong as the God Realm warriors that were told in legends, and thus I wasn't terrified of you. Even when we've just arrived here, facing the real God Realm warriors, I still haven't felt intimidated. I didn't know I was to be so wrong. Etionimo revealed a faint smile. Master, you don't need to bother. We could vaguely feel the repressive forces, but we were not sure about it. However, after having gotten out of the sea, we've gradually realized that everything is transforming. All of our forces have been quietly enhancing. Since then, we were more confident about the reasons for changes. They were both talking and walking towards the main hall of the Kele clan. At the main hall's door, dozens of muscular warriors, who were initially extremely cautious, immediately became bewildered with dull eyes, as if their souls had been tightly controlled without moving. An enormous argument was happening in the main hall. Some solemn words kept deafeningly pouring out. Etionimo knitted his eyebrows and then respectfully said, The highest realm warriors in there were only at the Nirvana realm. Nothing to be worried about. If you feel annoyed, I can shut them up. Shi Yan shook his head while smiling. No need. We are not clear about the situation here yet. No need to be rash. They can be considered the subordinated forces of the Three Gods sect. The Three Gods sect, they have never been against me. I also have deep relations with this force. We should not act recklessly. Understood. Shriek. The closed stone door gradually opened. Shi Yan and Etionimo walked inside slowly and cautiously. More than 10 warriors were sitting straight on the spot with gloomy faces. They didn't seem to be having a good discussion with each other. Linda was standing behind a chubby Nirvana realm warrior, gently bowing her head. Her eyes were full of indignation. Her delicate body slightly trembled. Her waist-length hair was tied up. As soon as Shi Yin entered the hall, his eyes swept around the hall and stopped at the girl whom he hadn't seen for a long time. A strange feeling suddenly seethed within his heart. Although they were dramatically noisily disputing with one another, they all heard the noise of the opened stone door. In a short moment, everyone in the hall raked their eyes towards Shi Yin and Etienne. They all looked unwilling and annoyed with their knitted eyebrows. Linda surprisingly covered her mouth. She unbelievably looked at Shi Yin with full of unrestrained happiness. After just a little hesitation, she suddenly dashed forward and joyfully said, "Gu, why are you here?" Shi Yin beamed a smile. "You've said that I should visit you here whenever I had the free time to do so. Ha ha ha, in passant, I have stopped by to see you." "So? You are not welcoming me?" Linda curled her lips. Her charming body slightly shivered. Her eyes lit up a strange light. She was indescribably overjoyed. "Ian, who is he?" An elder who was around 50 years old with gray-haired temples and wearing a black, purple tunic, annoyedly shouted. He then glared at the chubby Nirvana realm warrior and said, "Your Kele clan is not steady indeed. While we are having a discussion, how come such a strange little rascal can freely barge in like this?" Ian was the patriarch of the Kele clan, who was also Linda's father. After hearing those annoying words, his face slightly changed, looking at Shi Yin strangely and asked Linda, "Linda, who is he? Your friend? Why does he suddenly break in here?" "Yes, he is my friend." Linda was a little panicked, hastily turned around and explained to other warriors, "This is my friend whom I haven't seen for a long time. I am very sorry, uncle. I will take him away now." Right after saying that, Linda instantly winked at Shi Yin, implicating that he should quickly leave with her. "Wait." The warrior, who had just said some annoying words, waved his hand to stop them with a somber face. He irritatingly looked at Shi Yin and asked, "Little rascal, did you hear what we discussed just a minute before? Moreover, who are you? Why are you here?" After having asked Shi Yin, he moved his eyes looking at Ian, harumphed coldly and arrogantly said, "Even when we are discussing, your Kele people still let someone unknown storm in. We are doubtful whether your Kele clan is capable of doing something good after all. Ian, don't you think you owe us an explanation?" Ian's face was altered. He stared at Linda with a blameful look and asked, "Linda, who is he? Why does he appear in front of our clan? What did you bring him here for? Why haven't I seen him before?" Linda couldn't utter even a single word. This is one of the most sensitive times that our council is going through, and yet, a little rascal from nowhere barged in. He probably doesn't have good intentions. We should arrest him and further investigate." The Gray Temple man shouted coldly. Linda was too frightened. She hurriedly explained, "This is my friend. He might have acted recklessly, but I am sure he doesn't have any wicked intentions. Uncle Wu-Ku, please don't be too strict with him. I assure you that he will not make this mistake again. I beg of you, uncle." Wu-Ku's face displayed great discomfort. He just looked at Ian and said, "You know what to do?" Ian reluctantly beamed a smile and said after a while, "We should now clarify the situation first, then decide what to do." After saying it, Ian raised his voice calling the guards. Not long after, a guard of the Kele clan hastily rushed in from outside the main hall and respectfully said, "Master, you have something to instruct us." "How could they come in? Why did you allow the two of them to have entered here?" Ian asked, pointing to Shi Yin and Etienne. That guard was dumbstruck. He strangely looked at Shi Yin and Etienne, shook his head and then said with uncertainty, "We didn't let anyone in. Wouldn't it seem that they have been inside here before?" Some of the high-class men's faces frighteningly changed. They all stood up gloomily looking at Shi Yin. "Who are you after all?" Wu-Ku suddenly shouted out loud. He then arrogantly commanded, "Arrest him." Linda's beautiful face altered dramatically. She was worried and seemingly wanted to say something. Many guards from outside the hall stormed in and besieged Shi Yin and Etienne. They all looked at Ian, waiting for his command. "Linda, don't get involved in this." Ian shook his head helplessly and then ordered, "Arrest him first, We will question him later. Master, Etionimo was standing behind Shi Yin, quietly asking for his order. Shi Yin nodded indifferently. A bunch of guards, who was moving towards Shi Yin and Etionimo, seemed to have been struck by something. They all stopped in the middle of their steps with their dreary eyes. All of the high-class men inside the hall were in shock, unbelievably looking at Shi Yin and Etionimo. They now, simply, didn't know what to say. Wu Ke reacted first. He shouted and suddenly twisted his body like a snake while his bones made weird sounds, crack crack. He then rapidly crept towards Shi Yin. Etionmo's eyes were startled. His gray-white pupils glinted with strange lights. A flow of surging soul, which only Wu Ke could feel, instantly dispersed outwards. Wu Ke suddenly held his head and couldn't help but scream out loud. His nose bled while his body still produced the sound, crack crack. Now, it felt as if he was being nailed to the ground and was incapable of moving anymore. Ian and the other men in the hall simultaneously stood up as they also felt a dreadfully vibrating power covering the entire hall. Their sea of consciousness had changed relentlessly, and their body's forces had also started to be restless. Soul oppression. Only warriors with the realm of at least one level higher, as well as the outstanding soul capacity, who didn't need to use any of their profound chi, could exhaust their inferior opponent's power just by relying on their powerful souls. Etionimo was obviously from these kinds of people. Using the Upanishads of the demonic sound clan to make the Nirvana realm warriors obedient was like using the knife that was used to kill a buffalo to butcher a chicken. If it wasn't because Shi Yin didn't want to slaughter everyone rashly, Etionimo could have harmed everyone in the hall with his insanity soul skill. Etionmo's body might not be as strong as the true God Realm warriors, but his soul capacity was absolutely not inferior to that of any top-class God Realm warriors of the Endless Sea. All the warriors in the hall stood up. Their countenance tragically changed after having felt the horrendous powers of that realm. They then did not dare to act recklessly and looked at Shi Yin in fear. Linda, who is he after all? Ian had started to feel terrified. I don't know either. Linda hesitated a little bit before raising her head looking at Shi Yin and honestly asked, Shi Yin, who are you after all? Chapter 276, The Big Picture. The Snow Dragon Island, the Kele clan. In the main hall, roughly about 10 of the leaders of the Snow Dragon Island were being sincerely obedient. No one dared to do anything reckless under Etionmo's scrutinized, gloomy gaze. They were afraid that if they irritated Etionmo, something bad would happen. After Ian and Wu Ke both felt Etionmo's terrifying soul power, they both looked at Linda, using their facial demeanors to ask if she knew Shi Yan's real identity. Either Ian or Wu Ke, they were both very experienced. They could see that Etionmo always followed Shi Yan's orders, which frightened them a lot. They instinctively guessed that Shi Yan's identity wasn't one of an ordinary origin. Even though Linda and Shi Yan had earlier known each other for a period of time, she didn't really know about Shi Yan's origin. At this moment, as she saw how the powerful Etionmo unhesitatingly followed Shi Yan's every command and moves, she then obviously knew that Shi Yan was not just an ordinary person. She couldn't help but ask him. Shi Yan was standing in the middle of the hall. Waiting until Etionmo had gotten total control of the situation, he gently spoke to Linda with a smile. Just consider me as a member of the Yang family. The Yang family. Everyone's faces changed dramatically. Linda's pupils shrank. She nodded sadly. I should have known it before. Since after we've parted, I should have figured it out when I saw that you and the Azura King Muaduan Hun left while riding the blue-blood devilish bat. But I was not very sure about it. Now, it is certain. After Shi Yan spoke of his origin, Ian and Wu Ke both looked very worried with strange countenances. The Yang family of the Kiara Sea were famous for their defiant demeanors. The Kiara Sea and the Hengluo Sea were not far from each other. Previously, the Three Gods sect and the Yang family had often fought with each other. They were archenemies. The Snow Dragon Island was the outer force of the Three Gods sect. The clans on this island would not be unfamiliar with the Yangs, They surely knew how tremendous the Young family's forces were. You? What do you come to Snow Dragon Island for? Ian sat on a chair, pretended to be calm, lifting a cup of water, took a sip, and then worriedly said, 2 years ago, many forces came to occupy the Kiara Sea and fought with the Young family. But the Three Gods sect didn't want to involve in those matters. Even if you wanted to take revenge, you still shouldn't find us. Right after Ian had finished his words, other people in the hall crazily responded and hastily pled for themselves. They said that both the Three God sect and the Young family didn't have any conflicts recently, or they were only the Three God sect's outer force, that they didn't know of the situation between the two sects clearly. After all, they just wanted to prove their innocence and hoped that Shi Yin would just give them a slap on the wrist. Shi Yin Ji, you have now arrived at the Snow Dragon Island. Does it possibly mean that you probably want to? Linda clenched her fists tightly, gritted her teeth, and angrily looked at Shi Yin. If you want to deal with us, I will bear hatreds towards you for my whole, entire life. Shi Yin then burst into laughter. He shook his head and said with an eccentric complexion, "What are you thinking? As I was on my way, in passant, I just then decided to stop by to visit you without other intentions, then simply be on my way. Any other worries that you might have should all be unfounded." The other people in the hall all released a sigh of relief. Not to mention that the Three God sect didn't have any past conflicts with the Young family, even if the sect did so. As having regards for you, I would not fight with the Kele clan. To prevent Linda from thinking too much, Shi Yin continued with a smile. I come here to visit you, to see if you are doing well. Linda's face was full of emotions. She seemed to be touched. Ian surprisingly looked at Shi Yin, then quietly raked his eyes towards Linda. He seemed to see something strange here. His eyes then gradually brightened up. Actually, during this time, the Kele clan were encountering some difficult unsolved problems that had recently been plaguing them. Ian was feeling utterly miserable, full of anxiety, as he couldn't find any solutions yet. Right now, he just suddenly found out that his daughter seemed to have a good relationship with Shi Yin, yet he couldn't help but have a thought that. Ian contemplated consciously for a while, then burst into laughter. His chubby body then shambled out of his chair. He lifted a glass of wine in his hand and said with a pink face, Shi Yin, my boy, if you don't have any further bothers, please take a seat and have a glass of wine. How does this sound? Shi Yin was bewildered. He wanted to refuse him. But Shi Yin just saw Linda's expecting eyes looking towards him as though she was begging him to accept the invitation. After being a little startled, Shi Yin slightly nodded to Ian with a faint smile. All right. Sit down, please. Ian hurriedly moved forward to welcome Shi Yin. He personally arranged Shi Yin's seat by himself. His behavior was so servile that it looked as if he was flattering Shi Yin. As Linda saw her father's eager and servile behavior, she instinctively knew what was in his mind. She originally wanted to remind him of not doing it. But as she thought about the complicated problems that they were facing today, she quietly let out a sigh and cast away that intention. She just felt a little embarrassing, looking at Shi Yin as if she wanted to say that he shouldn't blame her for that. Shi Yin lightly nodded to her as well, implicating that he didn't mind. After sitting down together with Etian and Mo, Shi Yin picked a green snake fruit and didn't say anything. He then took a homely bite, chewing and mumbled to himself, "It doesn't taste bad." Ha ha. Ian kept laughing aimlessly and didn't hurry to talk. He waved at Linda, signaling her to sit down next to Shi Yin. He waited until Linda had sat down on Shi Yin's left side, then pretended to ask unintentionally, I don't know where you are from? Thing is, the Kiara Sea situation is now very complicated. Do you know what's going on? This was what Shi Yin was concerned about the most. Shaking his head, Shi Yin's face became more serious. He said, to be honest, I am not from the Kiara Sea. I left there for a while, and have just now come back. Can I ask how the situation over there is? As Ian had soon known that Shi Yin was not from the Kiara Sea, he didn't feel strange after hearing of it. He just whined with a miserable voice, the Kiara Sea has fallen. Shi Yin's eyes were slightly half-closed. 2 years ago, not long after Young families disappeared, the demon dwellers of the 4th demon area came to the Kiara Sea. In only 1 year, They already occupied the entire Kiara Sea. As of now, the Kiara Sea belongs to the demon dwellers of the fourth demon area. Ian shook his head with a miserable gesture as if the demon dwellers had devastated, dominated, and obliterated his entire family. I've known that this would happen, Yin said with a cold smile. At first, forces from everywhere in the Kiara Sea had united. After knowing that the two demon kings were confining the head of the Yang family, they have allied with the demon dwellers to deal with the Yang family, which left them no other choice but to retreat to other places. As the result, the gate of heaven that was linked to the fourth demon area had no defensive forces. Moreover, they even had a ridiculous thought, which was free trade with the demon dwellers. Right now, the demons dwellers are invading on a bigger scale. They will then swallow the entire Kiara Sea piece by piece. Those people have reaped as they had sowed. That serves them right. Ian's hands were trembling with shame. He then embarrassingly wiped his sweat away, forced a smile, and said, "Our Hengluo Sea is just next to the Kiara Sea. The Snow Dragon Island is not very far from the Kiara Sea either. Recently, I've heard that the demon dwellers of the fourth demon area is considering to attack the Hengluo Sea. This is..." Yin glanced at him, feeling a bit weird. "You belong to the Three Gods sect, so the Three Gods sect will have the solutions itself. Perhaps the Gu family and the Heaven Lake Divine Land have started to negotiate with the Three Gods sect? Anyway, they haven't attacked here yet. Why do you need to be in such a rush?" "It's just that they haven't attacked yet. But once they are here, it will be already too late." Wuke forced a smile, shaking his head. He wasn't arrogant anymore. Linda sat next to Yin, bowed her head without saying anything. She just quietly listened while her hands were tightly clenched. She then seemingly felt a little tensed. "Let me tell you the truth, my good boy. I have been informed that in another month, the demon dwellers will likely start to intrude into the Hengluo Sea from the Kiara Sea. And in 2 months max, the demon dwellers will come to the Snow Dragon Island." Ian was contemplating for a while before continuing with grimaced face. "That means that our Snow Dragon Island only have about 2 months left?" Yin was astonished and said straight away, "So, you should relocate somewhere else soon. Would you want to defend the Snow Dragon Island to death? What did the Three Gods sect say? You are considered the outer forces of the Three Gods sect, so won't they just abandon you?" "It's like this." Ian was a little bit ashamed. He murmured softly the crux that they were facing. After having recently known that the demon dwellers at the Kiara Sea had the intentions of invading the Hengluo Sea, Ian and Wuke had immediately asked for the Three Gods sect's opinion. The Three Gods sect suggested that the outer forces should temporarily leave their islands and go to the adjacent islands of the Three Gods sect's headquarters, and prepared all of the forces to fight with the demon dwellers of the fourth demon area. Some forces of the other seas would send their high-class warriors to take guards at the Three Gods sect, the Gu family, and the Heaven Lake Divine Land. They would then ally with each other to fight against the demon dwellers, depending on the demon dwellers' offensive strategy. After the Three Gods sect had given out their command, Ian and his people had then encountered a big problem. At this point in time, the sea was boisterously rough. The windstorms and tsunamis there were the most terrifying in the Hengluo Sea. Boats sailing under these conditions were in extreme danger. They would be dashed to pieces and people would die even if they were being just a little careless. Departing from the Snow Dragon Island towards the Three Gods sect's headquarters, they would have to sail across the sea called the Chaotic Wind Sea, where the typhoons and tsunamis were extremely horrendous at this time of the season. The three big clans on the Snow Dragon Island had limited abilities. They could only use boats in order to move or travel. Thus, crossing the Chaotic Wind Sea was entirely unavoidable. However, the three big clans only had roughly about 10 Nirvana Realm warriors. With that small of a number of high-class warriors, it wasn't sure that they could protect all the boats in crossing the Chaotic Wind Sea. Therefore, they did not dare to move yet. From what Ian had said, it meant that if there were the Sky Realm warriors' help, together with their Nirvana Realm warriors, it would be more certain that their boats would safely cross the Chaotic Wind Sea. They had informed the Three Gods sect of the situation at hand, and received the reply that they should wait for the Sky Realm warriors to come. But if those warriors couldn't come in on time, they then had to take the risks in crossing the Chaotic Wind Sea. The Three Gods sect had many of the outer forces. There should be at least hundreds of islands similar to this Snow Dragon Island. Therefore, even if the three gods sect willingly sent out their Sky Realm warriors to help, it was not sure that those warriors would lay their eyes on the Snow Dragon Island, as their abilities were unfortunately limited. If they waited for those high-class warriors to come, their departure time would be accordingly delayed, which could lead to the results that they would probably fall into the demon dwellers' hands, and would obviously face the severe murderous onslaught that was to ensue afterward. The three gods sect had given a deadline that was sent out to their warriors. Even though that deadline was coming close, with only a few days left, none of the Sky Realm warriors appeared to give assistance. Therefore, Ian and the others were impatiently anxious. They immediately started to discuss if they should then take risks in crossing the chaotic wind sea. On the Snow Dragon Island, besides the three big clans, there were also other small forces of warriors, around hundreds of warriors with different levels, as well as roughly about tens of thousands of ordinary citizens. Without the Sky Realm warriors' protection, no one could tell how many of them would survive after taking the risks to cross the chaotic wind sea. This was the crux that Ian and the other people on the Snow Dragon Island were facing right now. After the warriors on this island, including Eon, had been repressed by Etion Mo's soul power, they were instantly sure that Etion Mo was definitely a Sky Realm warrior. Thus, they had a thought of hope that Etion Mo could help protect them. However, Shi Yin was from the Yang family, and the Yang family and the three gods sect had a conflict since long ago. Though these people still had the intentions in asking for Shi Yan's help, although they knew that there was not a lot of hope in doing so. But the situation now was very urgent and dangerous. Time was of the essence. If they continued waiting, the situation would become more perilous. That was why they finally decided to ask Shi Yin directly. Shi Yin sat quietly while deliberately drinking tea. His eyes swept over Eon and his people with a calm face. After Ian had told him of the current situation, Shi Yin obviously understood what they wanted. They all displayed a sincere look while waiting for Shi Yan's decision. Right at this moment, a small hand was suddenly placed on his thigh, gently fondling his thigh and slowly moving towards his privates. Shi Yin was shaken, feeling that his winky was now erected and felt extremely pleasurable. He couldn't help but bow his head and slightly utter a sound. He then turned his head around to glance at Linda, who was sitting next to him. Linda bowed her head with her flushed face and didn't dare to look at Shi Yin. But her small hand didn't stop moving either. Instead, it continued stroking his winky, bringing him a wonderfully mesmerizing sensation. Ian, Wu Ku, and all the other people in front of him were intensely looking at him with begging faces. He didn't expect that Linda dared to stroke his winky in front of the other people, but this brought him a great feeling of pleasurable satisfaction. Under the others' scrutinized eyes, Shi Yan's eyes were half closed as if he was knitting his eyebrows to think. But, in fact, he was quietly enjoying. This girl was really daring. A smiling look beamed out from the corner of his mouth, but he still didn't say anything yet. He knew Linda's intentions but wasn't in a hurry to expose his attitude. Instead, he continued to enjoy himself. Ian didn't know of his daughter's deed. He was waiting in silence. However, after a while, as Shi Yin still said nothing, he couldn't be any more patient and was about to ask Shi Yin again. Suddenly, Shi Yan's erected winky was then tightly squeezed by Linda's small hand. He felt a little pain and couldn't help but scream out a soft sound, secretly blaming the girl for treating it too hard. As he knew that Linda was impatiently anxious, Shi Yin pretended that he was contemplating a little bit, softly dry coughed, and then said with a smile, "This is simple. I will find some people to help you solve this problem. Since you want to leave the Snow Dragon Island, I will help you manage it for a while." Ian's eyes brightened. Wuka hadn't originally been very amicable with Shi Yin, but right now, he was also very excited. Suddenly stood up and smilingly said, "Are you willing to help us?" "Just a small thing." Shi Yin smiled wickedly, glancing at Linda on his side, implicating that he had fulfilled her wish. Linda's face glowed, let out a sigh but still didn't dare to raise her head. Her hand continued moving, stroking his winky more devotedly as if she wanted to pay back what he had done for them. The Kiara Sea has been invaded. How about the evil Wonderland and the Xia family?" Shi Yin both enjoyed and asked. After the Yang family had disappeared, the Xia family was still being crushed by the evil Wonderland. When the Yang family had lost, the Xia family also got nothing. Many of their islands were also invaded. The head of the Xia family's former generation became mentally ill and never showed up. Thus, the evil Wonderland became more and more defiant. They even had the intentions to evict the Xia family out of the Kiara Sea. This time, Wuku stood up and smilingly explained to Shi Yin what was happening there. He seemed to understand well of the situation at the Kiara Sea. The evil Wonderland originally wanted to take advantage of the marriage between Xia Kuei and Xia Xinyan to tie up the Xia family into their battle. Xia Xinyan still persistently closed the door to cultivate, which was an excuse for the Xia family to delay the marriage. Eventually, the evil Wonderland started to be impatient and offended the Xia family constantly. Before the demon dweller's intrusion, the Xia family's power at the Kiara Sea had already been decreased a lot. They were too far away to be the evil Wonderland's match. After the demon dwellers had invaded, the Xia family knew that they could hardly resist the demon dwellers. As the family's forces had been greatly lost, the Xias decisively retreated as soon as the demon dwellers arrived. Before many more of the demon dwellers' warriors came, the Xia family had left everything at the Kiara Sea and wisely advanced towards the Hengluo Sea, and temporarily stayed in some of the islands in the middle of the Gu family and the evil Wonderland. Thanks to the Xia family's discernment, their people could then be able to avoid the great oncoming disaster, limited their losses, and conserved the number of warriors. Only the unconcerned outer forces had been left behind at the Kiara Sea. The evil Wonderland was different. After the Yang family's disappearance and Xia family's depression, their forces ferociously expanded. They then became the first dominator of the Kiara Sea with a number of resourceful islands, much more than the number of islands that the Yang family had possessed before. Even though the demon dwellers had come, they didn't want to leave behind their assets at the Kiara Sea, which they had been fighting hard to acquire. So, the battle finally had to happen. The evil Wonderland then quickly realized the demon dwellers' terrifying strength. It only took about 3 months for those demon dwellers to entirely destroy the evil Wonderland and slaughter more than half of the evil Wonderland's warriors. When the two demon masters under Bo Sun went to the evil Wonderland together, it meant that the evil Wonderland was done. Facing the overwhelming forces of the demon dwellers, the head of the evil Wonderland had a decision that made the entire forces of the Kiara Sea feel disgraced. The evil Wonderland had surrendered. After that, the evil Wonderland became one of the demon dwellers' forces, turned into their hounds, disclosing all the information and arrangements of the Kiara Sea's forces, as well as their long-term understanding about all the warriors of the Kiara Sea. Holding the evil Wonderland in their hands, as well as having a thorough understanding of the Kiara Sea, the demon dwellers at the Kiara Sea then harvested an abundance of resources, which couldn't be found anywhere else. Their strengths then increased extremely fast. Many of the demon dwellers then had consequently broken through the realms with booming forces. Their abilities were then enhanced with every single passing day. The evil Wonderland is so shameful. Shi Yan's face was serious. Cold light beamed out from his eyes. These disloyal people, as they have betrayed us before, they can certainly betray the entire Kiara Sea. After clearly knowing the current situation of the Kiara Sea from Wu Ku, Shi Yin somehow felt satisfied. Your 3 clans should start preparing to leave. When you are ready, some of my people will come and help you. After contemplating for a while, Shi Yin knitted his eyebrows looking at Ian and Wu Ku. I will keep my words. Remember to bring all of the ordinary residents of the Snow Dragon Island. Understood. Ian and Wu Ku nodded. You guys can leave to prepare now. Shi Yin waved his hand with his impatient face. Linda had already sat decently again without moving her hand anymore, just her face was still flushed, which looked very charming and mesmerizing. As Ian and Wu Ku had gotten Shi Yan's promise, their faces loosened a little. Their attitude towards Shi Yin was very respectful. They all stood up and left the main hall after Shi Yan's promise. Before Ian left, he had given a quick glance at Linda, as if he wanted to know more about the relationship between Shi Yin and his daughter. From Linda's blushed face, Ian seemed to figure out something. He didn't scold at her, but instead, he felt secretly cheerful and fully satisfied. Etianimo waited until everyone had left the hall, then slowly stood up and spoke to Shi Yin with a gentle voice. I am going out to take a walk. If something happens, you just need to call me. Shi Yin knew Etianimo had seen Linda's secretive deed. Thus, he asked to have a walk as an excuse to give him more freedom. Therefore, Shi Yin nodded with a smile. Okay, bother you again. I should do it. Etianimo turned around and left, disappearing just in a blink. Shi Yin had reminded Etianimo of not calling him master in front of the other people. Etianimo also felt that this way of addressing Shi Yin sounded a little intimidating. Thus he followed Shi Yin's instruction. That person is a little strange. The aura from his body is a little different from ours, Linda said after Etianimo had left the main hall. Then, she asked with her reddened face, did he see what I've just previously done?
No.
Shi Yin burst into laughter, immediately embraced Linda, placing her on his thigh, and lightly groaned out, You have provoked me for so long. Now, this is my turn. Hi, I am not afraid of you. Linda's mood and body were then both excited. Her watery eyes were full of lust. Shi Yin temporarily stayed with the Kele clan. He waited for both of the big clans on this Snow Dragon Island to leave, and also heard of the Kiara Sea situation from Linda. For 2.5 years, the biggest incident of the Kiara Sea was the Demon Dwellers' invasion. When the Demon Dwellers had intruded into the Kiara Sea for real, all the forces of the Kiara Sea just then realized that targeting the Yang family had been such a stupid move. The cruelty of the Demon Dwellers surpassed their imaginations. After the Kiara Sea had fallen into the Demon Dwellers' hands, each of Kiara Sea's forces felt extremely insecure. They were afraid that the Demon Dwellers would barge into their sea on any given day. Because of their fear of the common enemy, they had then quickly started to unite. Leaders from every direction had constantly met and discussed with each other to figure out a solution to deal with the Demon Dwellers. However, conflicts always existed among these forces. Some of them, who were quite far away from the Kiara Sea, had the intentions of letting the other forces act as a buffer in consuming the Demon Dwellers' power. Thus, they didn't put all of their efforts together in defeating this common enemy. The starting point was good, but once it was implemented, it exposed many conflicts between them. Even though having been invaded by the Demon Dwellers, these forces still couldn't change the selfishness of the humankind. They always had a thought that they shouldn't be the vanguards. Instead, they should preserve their strengths and forces. They would never shed tears without seeing a coffin. It was said that the leaders of those forces had always argued and quarreled whenever they had met without finalizing any perfect solutions. And so on. When they weren't ready yet for their attacks, on the contrary, the Demon Dwellers had already taken action. At the Kele clan's place, Shi Yin was sitting straight on top of the highest floor of a delicate 3-floor pavilion. He slowly relaxed his mind and spirit with a secured countenance. He was studying the magic of the soul of the demonic Sound clan. In the last 3 days, he had stayed with the Kele clan. Etianimo was in charge of protecting him. People of the 3 big clans here had always been busy, collecting their accumulating properties, assigning high-class warriors to different missions, arranging for ordinary people, etc. After several times of lustful pleasures and having his sexual desires satisfied, Shi Yin and Linda started to regain their composures. Having Etianimo on his side, Shi Yin had chances to ask him about some of the soul secrets of the demonic Sound clan, which he hadn't thoroughly understood before. Since the incident in the forest when Etianimo had seen Shi Yin's cruelty, his attitude towards Shi Yin had greatly changed. He seemed to treat Shi Yin more honestly and always devotedly helped him as much as he could regardless of any matters. Therefore, Shi Yin's perception of the spiritual Upanishads in the demonic Sound clan scriptures had been rapidly improved. The sea of consciousness then rippled out many waves of the sea, which were like silk fibers, quietly gathered at the host soul's place. The host soul was being wrapped by more and more of the soul consciousnesses. Shi Yin's feelings were then expanded everywhere. In the sea of consciousness, the 5 devils had been recently very quiet. After the host soul entered and Shi Yin didn't use any of his negative forces, as the 5 devils seemed to sense the host soul's repressive force, they didn't dare to have any further reckless actions. As of now, Shi Yan's soul consciousness constantly kept condensing and gathering at the host soul's place. He vaguely felt that he was able to control the five devils. Thus, he suddenly had an idea. His consciousness started to move towards the host soul and conducted the five devils through the host soul. Shortly thereafter, strong winds and massive waves surged up within the sea of consciousness. The five devils inside of the sea of consciousness turned into five flows of black lights flying out of the sea of consciousness. A tremendous flow of wicked, crude, desperate aura flowed out from inside of the pavilion. Five ferocious Tinjong tall devils floated around in the sky right above the pavilion. Their bodies shot out fluctuating souls, which then brought the people into everlasting sorrows. Shi Yan's body suddenly shriveled. Negative forces from the meridian streamed out and then violently poured into the five devils. Although the five devils' bodies had been originally ambiguous, they now gradually condensed into unknown substances and emitted more and more horrendous aura. "Master, be careful." Tian Mo's face changed in fear. He looked at the five devils floating in the air with a stupefied face and horribly screamed out, "What is this spirit skill? Its aura is very terrifying. This is the soul's power condensing into substances." Shi Yan opened his eyes, frigidly looked at the five ferocious devils floating in the sky. He raised his arm and shouted, "Come back." The five devils wriggled and seemingly didn't want to go back. However, Shi Yan coldly harumphed and projected a stream of burning heaven flame from his hand. The five devils that had escaped from the sea of consciousness instantly felt frightened just now, didn't dare to protest against Shi Yan anymore and swayed a little bit before diminishing. Just in a short time, the five devils again turned into different flows of black lights and disappeared into Shi Yan's body. Shi Yan took a deep breath. His chilled-to-the-bone eyes were gradually restored to its normal state. He released a sigh after a long while, then said, "I know you are afraid of the heaven flame." Etianimo also stayed away from him, as he felt a little nervous whenever Shi Yan emitted the heaven flame. The heaven flame was Etianmo's fatal nemesis. Shi Yan retrieved the heaven flame in his hand, then said with a smile, "It is just the burning fire of the thousand earth flame. Although this burning fire is tempered by icy objects, still, it is very intimidating. If it was the 9 Serenities soul devouring flame, those 5 devils will be truly terrified. Regretfully, that 9 Serenities soul devouring flame still cannot be subdued yet. Master, are the 5 living souls that you projected condensed by using the soul power?" Etianimo asked in fear. "Master, you are only ranked at the Earth realm. Even with the profound knowledge of the spiritual Upanishads of the demonic Sound Clan, it is still difficult for us to perceive it that fast. How can it be so simple just to rely on the soul power to condense it into living souls?" Etianimo still couldn't believe that this fact was true no matter what. Taking the soul as a conducting object to condense it into living souls was an extremely scholarly spirit skill which had been written down in the secret scriptures of the demonic Sound Clan. In order to cultivate this spirit skill, besides the highly adept soul capacity, it was necessary to have reached the God realm, otherwise, it would be nearly impossible to do so. Even Etianimo, who was ranked at the first sky of the spirit realm and possessed a profound soul capacity, wasn't able to do so just yet. Being ranked at the Earth realm and relying only on some of the demonic Sound Clan's secret scriptures, Shi Yan already could use the soul power to condense it into living souls. The word genius wouldn't be enough to describe this. "Did you say the 5 devils?" Shi Yan was startled, but then explained with a smile, "It isn't related to the spiritual Upanishads of the demonic Sound Clan. Before I had your demonic Sound Clan's soul secret scriptures, my sea of consciousness had condensed into these 5 devils." Etianimo was shocked with his eyes and mouth wide opened. He looked at Shi Yan as if he was looking at a monster. After a long while, Etianimo let out a sigh and respectfully said, "Luckily, I've made a right decision. If we had killed you in the first place, I think our demonic Sound Clan would have disappeared altogether from this world." Etianimo was a little frightened. Shi Yan stood up while waving his hand, implicating that he didn't mind it. After he felt that the 5 devils weren't restless anymore, he immediately walked to the window, looked down at Eon's people of the Kele clan gathering there, and said hastily, "I am very sorry. An unexpected thing happened while I was cultivating. Now, everything is all right. You guys don't need to be worried any further." All the Kele clan's people looked pale. They were so frightened that even their hearts were trembling. These people, who only had normal cultivation base or didn't even know how to use any of the spirit skills, had suddenly realized some horrifying commotions that appeared on the floor where Yin was staying. They had even thought that the demon dwellers had already come. If the 5 devils hadn't disappeared in time, they wouldn't have even dared to move any closer to the pavilion like this. Ian was standing from a distance. After hearing Yin's words, he wiped his sweat away, immediately clasped his hands towards Yin and said, "All right. So, I won't bother you anymore." After finishing his words, Ian signaled for his people to leave. They all left instantaneously. "Master, I would like to request the advice from you about the secrets in condensing those living souls." Waiting until everyone had left, Etionimo contemplated for a while before asking with a little embarrassment, "I have also recently studied this. Regretfully, there have been no improvements. I am very curious. Your 5 devils had been formed based on what?" "From different negative feelings inside of me." Yin frowned and didn't hide or clarify it either. Negative feelings? Etionimo was amazed. These negative feelings can be reinforced through cultivations? I haven't heard about this before. Master, can you constantly increase negative forces so that the condensed 5 living souls can also keep being intensified? Theoretically, it should be so. Yin nodded. Etionmo's eyes lit up a strange light. His face then became very eccentric. What? Yin felt a little bit weird with Etionmo's expressions. Is it very strange to do so? I feel that it was just a normal occurrence. Etionmo took a deep breath. He then said frighteningly after a while, "Master, really? You are such a breathtaking genius. I really admire you now, even though I can't figure it out yet. But your ability is something that ordinary people like us are not able to understand indeed. What is it after all? Only the God Realm warriors who can condense living souls are able to constantly enhance themselves, and that their abilities keep transforming non-stop." Etionmo stared at Yin with his bizarre sparkling eyes, speaking clearly word by word. Yin looked as if he had been dramatically shaken. After that, he beamed out a smile from the corner of his mouth. He rubbed his head while speaking. "Ha ha ha, my ability is not too bad after all." Until now, he just understood the frightening aspects of this spirit skill of the 5 devils in the Sea of Mind. It was indeed the spirit skill from the blood vein ring, which could really shock the others. Etionmo had seemingly wanted to explain something more, but he suddenly frowned and closed his eyes. A feeble fluctuating soul spread out on Etionmo's body entirely. A flow of a new soul slowly came in from far away, wrapping around Etionmo's body, quietly communicating with him. Closing his eyes, Etionmo sensed it for a while, and then suddenly said, "Kaba and the other people are encountering some troubles. Several warriors have appeared at their place. They found out Kaba. It seems they even know of your human girls. Kaba asks for your opinion if he should kill them." "They know the girls?" Yin was startled. His mind flickered right away. He was sure that those people should be the warriors from the Kiara Sea. After contemplating a little bit, Yin directly commanded, "Regardless of whom they are, just arrest them first. The appearances of the Wings race and ours are very different. If they spread out the rumors, there will be a lot of unwanted troubles." Understood. Etionmo nodded, closed his eyes, and transmitted the message to the other end. At this time, Ian suddenly appeared again. He stood 10 meters away from Yin and said, "I've just been informed that some people have come to help us. They are people from the Gu family in the Heaven Lake Divine Land. As they are on their way to the headquarters of the 3 gods sect to discuss some important matters, they have been also assigned to help us." The Gu family? The Heaven Lake Divine Land? Yin's face was strange. "When will they come?" "I've heard that they will arrive today." "Ha ha ha. So, thank you for your goodwill, my good boy." I don't think we need to bother you anymore, Ian said all of a sudden. No need to bother me? Sure, Yin was joyful. It cannot be better. You should wait for them to help you then. I also feel less worried. Chapter 277, Rooting. In the vast, immense forest, countless trees covered the sky and the ground. Even the sunlight at noon could hardly pierce through the lush and dense foliage of those trees. The people of the demonic Sound Clan and the Wings race all stayed under the tree's shades with leisurely manners, deliberately raised their heads and talked to each other joyfully. The two leaders Dishan and Uro had pulled Duomao to the side under an ancient tree shade and whispered something to each other. Duomao was obviously a little bit frightened in front of Dishan and Uro. He always honestly nodded with any words or assignments that were ordered by Dishan and Uro without daring to disobey them. Kaba and Yiming slightly closed their eyes while communicating with Etian Mo at the other side of the Snow Dragon Island to ask for Shi Yan's opinion. Not long after that, Kaba and Yiming received his response. Then, they waved their hands signaling the demonic Sound Clan's warriors behind them to take action. 30 high-class Sky Realm warriors of the demonic Sound Clan quickly advanced towards the 7 human warriors and surrounded them. A flow of attacking soul like silk fibers covered those 7 human warriors just in a blink. Under these rippling waves of souls, all 7 of them then held their heads, plumping down on the ground and screaming out. The light in their eyes gradually became gloomier. Lady, one bald warrior among them, who had some small arrow tattoos on his head, gazed at Gu Ling Lung standing not far away from there with his red eyes and shouted, "Who are these guys?" Gu Ling Lung slightly released a sigh, then helplessly talked to her family's Sky Realm warrior. "Uncle Hua Ming, you don't need to save us. Don't risk your life to fight. It's useless." Holy Maiden, an elderly woman with many wrinkles on her face, was holding her crutch, leaning on a trunk and shivering. She looked at Chu Yin-Ching from a distance. Being scrutinized by that elderly woman, Chu Yin-Ching shook her head helplessly, signaling her not to resist. The elderly woman's body trembled. She let out a dispirited sigh, became obedient, and stopped the useless protest. Among the 7 warriors, except for Hua Ming with the small arrow tattoos and the elder woman Huang Nan of the Heaven Lake Divine Land, the rest of the 5 warriors were at the Nirvana realm. All of them came from the Heaven Lake Divine Land and the Gu family. This time, they were going to the headquarters of the 3 gods sect to discuss the plan to unitedly deal with the demon dwellers. They had received the information from the 3 gods sect when they were on the way, as they had been informed that the Snow Dragon Island were encountering some problems, so they stopped by to help the people on this island. However, as soon as they had arrived at the island, the elderly woman realized that this thick forest was not normal, as she could feel the aura of some low-level warriors of the Wings race and the demonic Sound Clan. Therefore, the 7 of them couldn't help but come here to check. After having crossed through the dense forest, they finally met the people of the Wings race and the demonic Sound Clan, and almost right after that, they saw Gu Linglung and Chu Yin-Ching. Gu Linglung was the hope of the Gu family's new generation. Chu Yin-Ching was the holy maiden of the Heaven Lake Divine Land. Both of them were the brilliant warriors of their forces. Although Hua Ming and Huang Nan had the Sky Realm cultivation base, together with the 5 Nirvana Realm warriors, they could still not have any advantages when facing the powerful people of the demonic Sound Clan and the Wings race. Dishan and Uro didn't even take any actions nor glanced at those 7 warriors. They continued discussing matters that were related to the Grey Wings clan's patriarch position with Duo Mao. They then cast the mission of dealing with those 7 warriors to Kaba and Yiming. As Kaba and Yiming didn't know of these people origins, they had immediately used their souls to send out the message to Etianimo to ask for Shi Yan's opinion. After having received the response, they nodded their heads, and Hua Ming and Huang Nan became their prisoners, unsurprisingly in no time. "Please do not eradicate them." Gu Ling Lung secretly gritted her teeth, staring at Kaba, and said, "I have told them not to resist. Won't you stop using the soul oppression?" Although the 7 of them had given up in opposing, the Sky Realm warriors of the demonic Sound Clan still didn't receive the order from Kaba and Yiming to stop doing so. Thus they continued using their violent soul oppression on these human warriors. In the range of 10 meters surrounding these 7 people, the mind-shaking soul oppression was still smothering the entire area. As they were stuck inside of this soul oppression, Hua Ming's and Huang Nan's bodies kept trembling, while the other 5 warriors, tragically, had already gushed out mouthfuls of blood. The demonic sound clan's understanding of spiritual Upanishads was way too advanced than that of the human warriors. As soon as the Sea of Consciousness had been formed, many of the demonic sound clan's people started to cultivate different pagan spirit skills. Their attacks were mostly aimed at their enemy's Sea of Consciousness and soul. This kind of attack was extremely terrifying and easily destroyed their enemy's spirit. The 5 Nirvana Realm warriors bearing clearly proved that their Seas of Consciousness had been seriously harmed. If it continued like this, these 5 people would shortly collapse. Once their cultivation base perished and the host soul was destroyed, they would be completely dead. No one could save them. Be obedient a little bit. Kaba coldly harumphed, then nodded with his Sky Realm warriors. Spare their lives for now. If anyone is rebellious, destroy their host soul right away. As these words came up, Hua Ming's and Huang Nan's faces turned pale. Horrible light then beamed out from their eyes. Aiming at destroying their opponents' bodies was the essential attacking method of all the human high-class warriors in a battle at the Kiara Sea. They normally wouldn't attack their opponent's souls. Attacking soul, this was extremely terrifying. A normal Sky Realm warrior wouldn't just freely use the soul to fight no matter how much hatred they got. It was because once the attacking soul was used, it was difficult to stop. Both sides would easily fall into danger where their souls would be destroyed forever. If a body was seriously injured, or even slashed into pieces, it still could be hopefully revived. However, once the host soul was destroyed, the living mark would be completely deleted and the revival would be totally impossible. Therefore, this kind of soul fight rarely happened at the Kiara Sea. However, Hua Ming and Huang Nan were always oppressed by the soul attack after having arrived this island. Since the beginning, their Seas of Consciousness were occupied little by little. Actually, the demonic Sound Clan had never attacked their opponents' bodies. This abnormal issue scared Hua Ming and Huang Nan out of their wits. They couldn't figure out what kind of people these pagans were after all. Don't even think about running away. Yiming burst into laughing, said, with the soul capacity of the 7 of you, if you have any thoughts of running away, you absolutely won't be able to escape from my soul sense. Let me warn you, even if you only just slightly move, I will immediately ruin your soul so that you know what soul and spirit both perished are. Hua Ming and Huang Nan were so terrified that they didn't dare to act recklessly anymore. They only looked at Gu Linglong and Chu Yin Qing with astonishment, and seemingly wanted to know from their ladies who these pagans were. Haiza, we can't tell everything just by a few words. Gu Linglong's face looked miserable with full of depression and dreariness. As we entered the chasm battlefield this time, we've never met any good events. We even nearly lost our lives there. Gu Linglong softly told Hua Ming and Huang Nan about what they had gone through. Ka Ba and Yiming glanced at them with a look of utter despise, didn't prevent nor care about them. Instead, they continued to communicate with Etian Mo on the other side. The Kele clan. Shi Yin and Etian Mo were sitting still on the spot, didn't say anything further to Ian. After having known that the Sky Realm warriors of the Gu family and the Heaven Lake Divine Land would arrive to help them, Ian was very happy and busy with the arrangement. 3 days had passed by. All the forces on the Snow Dragon Island had eventually finished their preparations. Boats were ready. The ordinary residents of the island were all arranged to board the boats. Everything was ready, except for the east wind. Ian and Wu Ku were waiting for the warriors of the Gu family and the Heaven Lake Divine Land to come. They had even sent their guys to find those warriors as they wanted to leave this island as soon as possible. Time was tight for them. After having received the message from Etian Mo, Ka Ba, Yiming, the other people hid deep inside of the forest and also activated the soul formation technique at the same time. Thus, the warriors of the Snow Dragon Island, who had been sent to find the warriors of Gu family and the Heaven Lake Divine Land, had to come back with nothing. Ian and Wuka started to be worried and didn't know what was going on. They transmitted their messages to the 3 gods sect to ask, But the Three Gods sect had no information either. They only asked for Ian and Wu Ku to continue to wait. But they had no more time to wait. Eventually, Ian and Wu Ku had to come back to Shi Yin and begged him to send some escorts over to help them. No problem, Shi Yin excitedly replied. It will take around 10 days to sail from here to the chaotic wind sea. As you are ready, I will send my guys to the harbor to help you cross the chaotic wind sea safely. Shi Yin, thank you, Ji. Linda chuckled, looking at Shi Yin with loving eyes. No problem. Shi Yin's expression was calm. You should leave now. When you arrive at the harbor, you will see my guys over there. Ah, are you sure there is no one left on this island? No. Everyone is leaving. Ian nodded constantly, thought to himself, who dares to stay here? Is there anyone having the guts to fight against the demon dwellers? Linda, you should leave as well. I will temporarily stay on this Snow Dragon Island. But don't worry, I will go to the Three Gods sect, and I will meet with you there. Shi Yin comforted Linda. Linda nodded submissively and then left with Ian. Wait until Ian, Wu Ku and their people left to go to the harbor. Shi Yin looked at Etianimo, nodded and said, All right, you call our people to come here. From now on, the Snow Dragon Island is ours. Half of a day later, Dishan, Uro, and the pagans of the demonic Sound Clan and the Wings race spread out from the forest, appearing at the adjacent cities and villages of the Kele clan's places. Houses, which had originally belonged to the three big clans, now became the shelters for the people of the demonic Sound Clan and the Wings race. After having got out of that abandoned land, they finally had a rest stop for themselves. Bring them here. Shi Yin was standing on the top floor of the three-level pavilion, gently commanding Etianimo at his side. Not long after that, Hua Ming, Huang Nan, and the other 5 warriors of the Gu family and the Heaven Lake Divine Land were escorted over. The group of Chao Zhilan, Chu Yanqing, and Gu Linglong also walked in. They all looked at Shi Yin with full of hatred and didn't know what he really wanted this time. Send the message to your leaders. Tell them that the Yang family's members have returned. Shi Yin looked at Hua Ming and Huang Nan and said with a smirk. He pointed at Dishan, Etianimo, and continued, These are the Yang family's allies from the Chasm battlefield. Tell your leaders if they still need and care about you, that they should come to the Snow Dragon Island. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.